What's going on here? What the fuck is this? Okay. Yo, we told a couple people got here, Anna. Play his video. Let's see what else we got.
Hello there, you awakening wonders.
Oh,
What do you mean? No, I'm a professional. Ready for the show?
You timed that to perfection.
See that?
Get your little titty boobs out.
I'm an old school pro, baby. I was ready on time. Doing the old Barney in the monitor. There we go. And it's going to be a great show for you today. We've got a very, very special show. We're talking about democracy, as a matter of fact, and the various ways that the Biden administration shuts down opposition. It was on TikTok by booting out Marianne with...
all right. Chopper doesn't have to be here first to play Chopper's video. I'll play it again later if he does join us, though. Slidell, Louisiana. I've been there.
Hey, how you doing today?
Thank you, squirrel.
Oh my god! Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from
successful TikTok videos, or refusing to
Fuck USA Today.
RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, who's going to be on the show Friday.
Now they're going to debate him.
Schedule it, because this is it. We've got. I mean, is it a fox inside the hen house? I don't know what the right way of saying it is. We've got one of us within the establishment. We've got someone that is anti-corporation, that's saying they're going to disband the CIA, but openly saying that the CIA killed his uncle, basically. I was thinking, like, when he's on here, like on the show on Friday, you can tune in. I want to remember as locals, like, then, you know, you can join us live if you're actually doing the conversation straight after it. But when he says, I believe that it's beyond reasonable doubt that the CIA killed my uncle, do I have to sort of go, allegedly, like that? First allegedly, but, and is the little fart there disrespectful?
It is a little. Yeah,
But you still got to do it.
Live?
Right.
There you go.
My
Principles, Ross.
paramedic graduation party
will see you through life. We've got a great guest coming on. It's Professor Max.
My paramedic graduation party, we boiled 500 pounds of crawfish.
Abrams, he's going to be telling us about the Kremlin drone strike. What's fascinating about this? You'll love this. Yeah, I think so, because they on the mainstream news, CNN, all those lot, they go, oh, it's a false flag attack, and I was like, hold on a minute, I didn't think like that the normal news said things like false flag attack, because it's always other people saying, oh, is that a false flag attack? False flag. You lot say false flag, don't you? Down there in locals, join that locals community, by the way. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're only going to be on YouTube for about 20 minutes, because then it's going to get dicey, conspiracy. Like, you know, we're going to talk about stuff that it's free speech stuff, like stuff that you can't talk about when you've got people breathing down your neck. Going, ooh, what if that was critical of the establishment? Ooh.
Like another video demonetized on YouTube
No!
for no reason.
What one?
It's back now.
Why do they do it?
Well, they just do.
Our precious monetization. That's what we're in it for, baby. We've got to pay for it. Do you think that these socks pay for themselves? Of course they don't. Do you think West Ham send me in for nothing?
They have done by now. We've had them for years.
They're different ones. It's not just the same ones. All right, I'll bring in two at once then. I'll bring in two at once. But while we're on the subject of the saucy little devils that occupy the Tootsie Roll, did you look at this bit of news? Someone's making a terrible mistake over at Hilton Hotels. Look at this from the mainstream.
To find Neil sucking on his toes. He immediately confronted him and recognized him as a member of the hotel staff. Neil admitted that he entered the room.
Stop. Come in, right, that's in there, right, put down, turn around, defrost the glass, have a look at the team in there, have a look at them, in trouble.
It's weird, they just did one, where was it, Anthony Wayne Schools? I think they just did one close to me, too.
Right, defrost it. Now let's see on the monitor. Let me see the TX on the monitor so I can see them, please. Come on, let's see what you're doing. Right, now, who was doing that? Put your hand up so we can see. Not Phil. Phil is a professional. And there's a finger, a pointing finger. Jamie, actual Jamie, someone who's worked in television, whose own mother dressed Bergerac.
Right.
That's like Bergerac's a cop show in the UK. It's our version of The Equalizer.
Yeah, good reference, yeah.
It's our version of The Equalizer. Say that. All right, so listen, let's play that in again. This is a news story from the Hill. This is the worst thing to have in a hotel since Watergate. Let's have a look at it. Oh, no,
The man reported that he woke up to find Neil sucking on his toes. He immediately confronted him and recognized him as a member of the hotel staff. Neil admitted that he entered the room, but claimed he did so due to the smell of smoke. There was no record of that claim.
You can't say that the reason you're working at a hotel, and like, what are you doing in here? I can smell smoke. What did you think my toes were on fire?
That's right.
And you're just trying to suck the fire out of my toes?
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's a transgression against the hotel the guest contract.
Right.
Isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't think smoke has ever come out of anyone's toes.
Maybe Michael Jackson's when he's moonwalking.
Yep.
And how did he come up with those sounds? By brawling his own pappy.
That's
you
right.
said that was
Yeah.
in a biopic, a Michael Jackson biopic, but that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss important ideas like democracy and how it's slowly being closed down. Did you know that when Joe Biden was vice president, he was accused of taking some bribes? I think the accusation came from earlier when he was
this is
in
going
Congress.
on at the moment. So this is like the GOP is, what they're saying is the FBI, because of a whistleblower, has come forward to say the FBI has a document that is detailing a bribe that Biden took as vice president. And what they're saying is release that document, which I think if it was the other
Battle
way,
buddies.
saying, oh, this is just the Republicans, they're just trying to smear Biden. But if it was Trump, you would want
That's
that.
cute.
I don't care either
Well,
way.
you wouldn't, but
It's
people
probably
would
in his
call for
garage. Let's get the let's have a look at the prosecutors bugging on Hunter Biden. What I like about Hunter Biden, right, is he got himself a nice little job at Burisma, a Ukrainian gas fuel. He also got himself a gun while on drugs. That's some badass stuff right there. Because you feel like I think when you buy a gun, you have to go like on the form, just to check you can look after this gun correctly. You're not on drugs, are you? And he put, no, I'm not on drugs, but. In effect, he was actually on drugs. So, like, that is a badass move, isn't it?
He also didn't declare the earnings he was making, apparently, at some of these foreign dealings. So it's another fairly badass move.
Are you doing anything for work at the moment? Or really just doing some drugs, buying guns, staying out of trouble? Oh, also, I've got this job at Burisma, Ukrainian gas firm. How did you get it? I know a lot about gas.
Some of these things are probably allegedly.
Also, I don't want to criticise Hunter Biden that much because I feel like he's trying his best. What do you guys want to? What do you think in the chat? We don't know. We don't patronise you. Hey, so what I think is more important, you tell me, we're interested in what you think, is that Biden won't debate Democratic rivals because I suppose he ain't obliged to undertake a primary process. But wouldn't you feel reassured to know that Joe Biden's willing to take on all comers, like Friday's guest on the show, RFK, or Marianne Williamson, people that are coming out of left field? But let's face it, if we're going to change the world, what are you going to have? More of the same, more career politicians that have allegedly been taking bribes their whole life? Or do you want people that are radical, that understand emotions, that are willing to talk out against the establishment in the figure of RFK, a person that's won incredible cases against corporate giants like Monsanto, who from an environmental perspective should be a hero of the left, but has been taken down, prefixed with anti-vaxxer. I can't wait to talk to this geezer on Friday, so I'm going to say him, how are they going to come for you? What are they going to smear you as? How are they going to shut you down? Will it just be with the anti-vaxxer stuff? It's going to be cool, isn't it? I'm going to be asking, well, I'll ask them whatever questions you lot ask. So that's why it's worth joining Locals, because you can watch us live straight after this show, talking to RFK, which will form the body of the Friday show here on Rumble. If you're watching us on YouTube, take that journey, man. You've got to just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper. It's crazy, isn't it? What I'm going to be saying to him is, are you serious about expanding the CIA? Are you serious in your claim that it's beyond reasonable doubt? And we'll be doing that story in more detail in a minute, that the CIA murdered JFK. I mean, that's sort of like a heavy thing that we've all talked about. I mean, how many conspiracy... There ain't going to be no conspiracy theories left. Aliens, yeah, we've had them ages. JFK killed, yeah, done it ages ago. The other one about the old cold with the PR campaign. Allegedly. You know, there's so many now, isn't there? It's amazing. So we're going to have a good conversation with him. Anyway, I think that, you know, if I was being the old, if I was president of America, and I think we'd all love that, I would debate all comers to show people how confident I was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the argument at the moment. I think it's not just Biden. Like, the last 4 presidents haven't done it because, as you say, they're not obliged to do it. But the very fact is that there's been a poll by Newsweek, and the very people that voted for Biden, I think it's like 74% of them, want him to debate other candidates. So this is, by its very nature, anti-democratic. If what people are saying is, we want to see you come up against other Democratic
you
candidates.
Can't call your party the Democratic Party and then not ever hold any elections or let anyone vote for anything. It's like calling your newspaper the Independent when it's funded by the Saudi Arabian state to the tune of 50%, and then criticising old Russ, who's one of the last true darlings, I would say. I'd say that. Also, it's not just expunging debate from the Democratic Party process, but it's beyond that on TikTok and stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Let's have a look at the mainstream media talking about how right on it is to not have any democracy in the Democratic Party. Check it.
Bobby Kennedy Jr. doing well. He's at 19%. Hasn't real.
He looks like Matthew Perry from Friends, doesn't he? And she looks like that lady that was on that show where I was on.
Well, she is that lady.
Right, it's also makes sense.
Gotten that much out there. I mean,
he's Joe.
Joe, yeah.
This lady, I've seen her before on MSNBC.
She was the one with Jen Psaki last week.
Oh, yeah.
They were talking about how brilliant
the White House press conference dinner is, how democratic it all is. Oh, yeah, so democratic. People can come and have a little giggle about stuff in parliamentary politics.
Sanders, former spokesperson for Kamala Harris. So, who actually, you could say, does need a spokesperson.
That would... you want your old job back, mate, because Kamala Harris, whenever she talks, she sort of says things like, I like Venn diagrams, though, didn't I once? Like, she's like, she says that a lot. She's on a crazy trip, particularly about Venn diagrams in particular. So go get your job back. But we were saying, weren't we, like the Jen Psaki and the last who does it now, Jean-Pierre or whatever. She, like, they all go from MSNBC, CNN, and back again. It's just so crazy. Well, that's why you need someone like RFK getting amongst it, saying we're going to end those kind of the donation culture. We're going to end like things I'm going to ask you about is, will you end people in Congress owning stocks and shares in companies they're going to regulate? You're going to shut the CIA down. What are you going to do about big pharma? What are you going to do?
Be a survivor.
Like, surveillance is one of his big ones.
Is he big on surveillance?
Yeah, big on shutting down the surveillance that's going on at the moment.
But you're never going to hear him do this in a debate. There should be debates. So there's no right. Let's do a poll. Let's do a goddamn poll. We could do a poll. Like, we want to like tell us whether or not you think there should be a debate, while we have a look at them saying that there shouldn't be a debate and there don't need to be.
And I'm starting to hear more and more talk about him. Are we going to actually have a challenge here?
I'm trying not to laugh, Joe. There's not going to be.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yes.
Do you know how many people said the same thing about Donald Trump in 2015 on this show?
Except I will note,
same exact thing.
Yes, because there was going to be a Republican primary. But I really think that the mealy-mouthed Democrats, as I like to call them, and some of my progressive friends who would like to live in a fantasy land, they need to come back to reality. And the reality is this. The sitting president of the United States of America is a Democrat that would like to run for re-election, so much so that he has declared a re-election campaign. In that case, the Democratic National Committee...
Is this a man talking?
Kamala Harris should get her back. Like, she's confident. Yeah, definitely.
Is that a man?
Like, when you see Kamala Harris chatting, I can't focus on what she's talking about. She's already amazing. Very, very strong. But I think what they're fundamentally saying is there's no requirement to have one.
That's
so why would you have one?
Well, that's it. That's
Joe
exactly
Biden would not fare well in a debate against really anyone.
Well, anyone. I mean, when like there was a lot of questions about how he would fare mentally moving forward anyway. I mean, this isn't me speaking. This is American people. 34% are, that's the only kind of confidence they have in it.
When he debates himself, right, which is just, I would say, a speech, right? There's no one there opposing him. He's sort of like doing a speech and he's got to say, for example, some numbers. He gets all confused and then he argues back at himself about the numbers, then he gets all confused about it. So it's not just like within the accepted circles of the Democratic Party process where he is under no obligation. It's just perfectly described to have a debate. It's even in the less official spheres of TikTok. And we were thinking that they're trying to, you know, like they're like, oh, TikTok, got to bring TikTok down, even though all the things that TikTok do, other social media sites also do. Nevertheless, look, Biden's recruiting a TikTok army. Meanwhile, they're expunging Marianne Williamson TikTok successes. Let's have a look at that. look, she's taking it over, but also she's getting banned. Have we got something about that? Yeah, look at that. TikTok moderators have banned at least 2 Marianne Williamson supporter accounts. So, because Marianne Williamson, she's doing pretty well.
She's doing
on
big numbers on TikTok. And
Guest
these have
on
been
the show.
taken down. So these are by Biden supporters who've mass reported these accounts, but these accounts haven't done anything
Do you
wrong.
think that really happens? Do you think that what happens is there's a coordinated attempt to manipulate these accounts? We've just seen that Biden's campaign is significantly investing in online influencers.
Well, I think that the Biden administration literally are getting this so-called army of TikTok influencers together. So there's a movement towards it. And as you say, the irony is that in one part of congressional hearings, they're trying to shut down TikTok. And the other part, they're like, we'll use it to our benefit and then censor the people who are our competitors.
That is hypocrisy, if you are asking me. Let's have a look at one of those TikTok influencers right now. Or do you think that this is just a lad? You think he says he's not getting any money from this. He's just enthusiastic, so we can't.
But we don't
say
know
that
what
he is.
we don't know what kind of favors they get down the road either. You know, we don't know what kind of deals.
What, like you might get a little sweetener?
No, I get what
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
saying.
apparently they're going to get their own briefing room or something at the White House. These TikTok influencers.
They're going to get a briefing room.
So, yeah.
I'd like that. All right, let's have a look at what he's doing.
What Republicans don't understand about Gen Z is that we're here to stay and we're only getting more powerful. In 2020, President Biden won because of young voters. In 2022, Democrats expanded their majority in the Senate because of young voters. In 2023, Wisconsin now has a liberal Supreme Court because of young voters. And we're going to do it again in 2024, and that should terrify the Republican Party.
Certainly terrified me. Just that level of enthusiasm.
That's like you at very high energy, you.
Yeah, I do that sometimes. Yeah. But like he's got youth on his side, isn't he? That youngster, he's very plucky. Well done, mate. Listen, so we've got climate where Biden's investing in it. Marianne Williamson's being expunged from it. Yep. Also, Tulsi Gabbard, also been on the show. Marianne Williamson been on the show. RFK coming on the show later. If you're a member on Locals, just join Locals. You can watch the show live. You can put your questions to RFK. She's been criticising Joe Biden for his plan to expand CIA surveillance. And while Biden is saying that he wants to expand the CIA, one man with a great legacy name, one man from a dynasty, is saying that the CIA should be, well, that the CIA are guilty of murdering his uncle, JFK. If that's true, that's not something we can talk about over here on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, there's a link in the description. Make the short trip across your phone. I mean, you've only got to use your fingers. Sometimes I think, what a mad world it is now that people actually find it difficult to move from one app to another app. It's not that hard, is it?
No.
I'm always moved from one app to another app. 1 minute, take a photo. Next minute, well, maybe I'll send a text. I don't know. Look, I do stuff in the world, is what I'm saying. Now, join us because we're going to get into some conspiracy theories. Plus, we're going to be having a look at what's gone on this week in history. Plus, we're going to have Max Abrams on the show, who's going to tell us that the Kremlin did not bomb themselves in their own castle. What do you call the Kremlin?
Drone themselves, yeah.
Why would you drone yourself? Stop droning yourself.
Well, if they're always doing it, the Russians, you know that they're always doing it. They're blowing up their own pipelines. They're droning themselves in their own Kremlin.
There's no need to have a proxy war with Russia. Just leave them on their own. They'll beat themselves eventually. Yeah. Oh, no, we've blown up a pipeline. Oh, no, we've blown up our Kremlin. Right, so what are we going to say about JFK? We got a news report of him saying this stuff. Yeah. Oh, this is amazing. I love this guy. This person doing the news looks like they've just dragged him off the street to do the news from Toy Story or something. He's so innocent and sweet. Like, listen to his tone when he says, like, I'm hearing that maybe the CIA killed JFK. He's a fella called Alex. We're going to find him. Let's get him on the show. I want to see more of his news. If you can find any clips, post them in the chat. Talks about it like such a thing could never. Where you been, mate? Where you been? You do the news. Oh my God, there's been a robbery downtown. Oh no! Like, look how innocent he is. This world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Let's check in.
Democratic White House contender Robert Kennedy Jr. blaming the CIA for assassinating his uncle, former President John F.
What? No.
Surprised by
that. There's been a film about it. Everyone knows that the CIA for murdering. It couldn't have been Lee Harvey. What? No. Wait a minute. That
magic bullet. Where?
How did it get? Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. Hold on a minute. Both parties fundamentally support the same ideals, and the pharmacy. Hey, there was a wealth transfer during the pandemic. No way. Hang on a minute. What happened to Building 7? Castro. Hold on a second. We're watching him. I know red pill, don't you? You're not saying red pill. Don't you like saying red pill? For us, that's just Nurofen. But for you, it's the Matrix. It's a movement. He's getting red pilled right on the telly. He's also got. I like him. He's a floppy head darling. Let's have a look at this report. And significantly, RFK saying that the CIA murdered JFK beyond a reasonable doubt. And if they did do that, then no wonder he wants to disband them. Should he disband them? Do we need a CIA? What are they doing? Got a lot of good PR, don't they? There's always some hunky actor playing someone from the CIA. It's what Tim Robbins said when he was on here.
Right.
He said,
that's how they do it. Propaganda.
Yeah, get hunky actors on.
Right.
He says.
Kennedy, back on November 22nd, 1963.
There's a 60-year cover-up. The Warren Commission was run by Alan Dulles, who was the head of the CIA, who my uncle fired. Congress found that, yeah, it was a plot. It was a conspiracy. There were multiple people involved.
RFK Jr. adding there is overwhelming evidence that the CIA was involved in this murder. I think it's beyond a reasonable doubt at this point. The CIA, of course, claims the agency was involved in the assassination of...
Can you see the figure of Abraham Lincoln just in the back of shot trying to warn JFK about presidential assassinations from beyond the grave?
Wow.
Yeah,
that's so exclusive today.
Ghost warning.
JFK a lie. Now, Kennedy is citing James Douglas's book, JFK and the Unspeakable, as having the most evidence. Tonight, RFK Jr. calling on President Biden to release all the documents about his uncle's death and follow through.
I wonder why they won't release those documents.
Right.
Why won't they? What? Because those documents contain plans for a surprise party for your birthday, and you've ruined it. You're just like your father and your uncle, who we also assassinated, as well as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and basically anyone who ever stood up for the values of ordinary people against the deep state corporate machine, which is at this point taken over completely. If you want to watch me chat to JFK, you can live. Yeah,
wow.
because from beyond the great. No, obviously that's disrespectful. I can't do that.
Allegedly.
I'm not like Abraham Lincoln's ghost lurking in the background, baby. No,
That's a
up
reason to subscribe.
I have mastered talking to the dead. Finally, at last, after much drug use, finally I've reached another transcendent realm where I can chat to people from beyond the grave. Now, RFK, which is a bloody good interview, in a minute. So join us over on Locals, become a member of our community. I do weekly meditations there, which are absolutely fantastic. I was doing one earlier with Arizona. I can't remember how to say her name. It was a complicated name. But anyway, we've done a good meditation. She's like training to be a doctor and actually got to do doctor exams. I was a lot of assistance
Does
to her.
she feel more confident about them now?
She's going to breeze through them exams.
Right, after the
That's
meditation.
There's no question, Gareth. So anyway, join us over on Locals. Be part of our community. Be part of our movement. You don't want to be sloshing around there in the world with all nutbags. You want to be with us. And then when we start making proper,
I haven't tried it, but
we'll be ready.
heard it actually
Also,
tastes pretty
Community
good.
Live, that's in mid-July. If you haven't got your tickets yet, get them now. Meet Vandana Shiva. Meet me.
I don't think
Meet
I'll have
me.
a problem
Meditate,
with it
transcend.
if it comes down to it.
If you want to start to me, it's none of my business, I suppose, is it?
No.
I'm not the police.
No, it isn't.
Am I?
No, it isn't. But as we talked about earlier, there's obviously a lot.
We have an advantage, Anna. We know where the best parts are too.
You're
With
so professional.
our knowledge of
Are you
anatomy.
pleased with yourself for that? You handsome.
Stay away from the
Right, now listen,
the brain
let's
and
have
the
a look
spine.
at what we're going to do now is have a bit of fun by looking at how, our old friend history. That's simply stuff that's happened already. This week in history, many things have happened. We asked you to vote for your favorite graphic sequence so we can see, I don't know, just think for a laugh really, but look at the graphic sequence created by our team. You voted for this, and now you've got it. Have a look at what do we call it this week in history? Is that what it's called? Or is it called Back to the Future?
No,
Something
it's
like
not.
that. Have a look at the sequence. There you go. So listen, this week, May,
I don't use A1 with hardly
for
anything.
some reason, NASA were experimenting
Sorry, if
on
the
whether or
state
not
needs
cats
A1,
would float.
it's
Now, often we get that
bad
guy on here,
state.
don't we? What's he called? Andrzejewski.
Andrzejewski, yeah.
He runs an organisation called Open the Books, where he makes government organisations reveal their expenditure on loopy stuff. He comes on there in a little dicky bow tie and goes, Russell, would you believe they spent $2 million
doesn't like to report.
getting mice to put high heels on and parade around like little sluts? They coke them up to the nutbag, then watch them shit on a table. It cost millions of bucks. We go, well, that's just
Thunder, Russell.
Took me a second.
Never said that.
Allegedly.
He never said that. But look at this stuff where they're taking cats into space like a literal Schrodinger's cat. Like that's the experiment, isn't it? Where the cat is simultaneously alive and dead until you open the box, which is just a metaphor used to explain the double slit theory that wave and particles appear to collapse into one identity under observation. Well, that's crazy enough for one year, baby.
Wow, there you go.
Check it out. But look at this cat. Look what they're doing this cat. Though I've got so many cats, I'd like to send a couple up. But let's have a look at this. Go and play it.
In these experiments, you can see the disorientation resulting when an animal is suddenly placed in a weightless state. Cats, when dropped under normal conditions, will invariably...
Of course, a cat is disoriented, but took up in a spaceship by NASA and then dropped.
Also, it says under normal conditions. There aren't normal conditions where cats should be picked up and dropped to the floor like that.
Of course, normally when you take a cat on a spaceship and drop it at normal gravity, those little guys twist like Chubby Checker and land on their little padded feet. Well, I like to spread their paws and pick my teeth with their claws. They normally don't mind. What is this? Science for perverts?
rotate their bodies longitudinally in
Did you
midair
miss the very
and land
beginning?
on their feet.
You had
This
to put a
automatic
shirt on.
reflex action is almost completely lost under weightlessness.
I hope that wasn't expensive.
Right.
Doing that cat gravity stuff. Look at it. Oh, how did they get away with that abuse, says Tone Bird. No, it's not right that they've done that.
I also don't really get what it's for. Like, we already know how gravity works that way.
Wait a minute, but what does it do to a cat? Yeah, it's going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and now a fried egg, and now my penis. Like, what are you? Gravity, you know what weightlessness is.
Yeah.
You've just got a grudge against cats.
Right.
That's what's going
Maybe
on.
someone just fancied. It was like non-uniform day or something. It's like, right, you get to do whatever you want today.
Can we take a cat
Yeah,
this?
well, right here.
Yeah, go on in.
Yeah.
Nigga,
Oh, Connect 4, I'm right.
Yeah.
And how did he come up with those sounds? By I'm an...
In this video, you're going to see the future.
Hello there, you awakening wonders. Thanks.
No.
What do you mean?
No,
What?
no.
I'm a professional.
No.
Ready for the show.
You timed that to perfection.
Did you see that?
Get your
That,
little
mate,
titty boobs out.
I'm an old school bro. thing. You think I'm not under enough pressure? Got kids and everything. All right, so that's cat gravity. Did you know that in May 1950, L. Ron Hubbard published Dianetics, or is it called Dianetics? I thought it was Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, which was, sort of Scientology, a new religion. So, no, I don't know if you are Scientology, I mean disrespect to religion, but it's a modern religion and ideology. It's quite a controversial one, let's face it, but all religions are, some ways, a bit unusual. I'm making this worse. Let's get into, let's have a look at their mad video thing. That isn't mad, but interesting.
Do you know someone who has never fully recovered from a serious loss in life? Or a traumatic experience?
That's a bad one, that. That's a rough one. So what Scientology's always done is gone for trauma. Trauma. It's interesting because I belong to groups that deal with trauma with a fusion of spirituality and psychiatry, but psychiatry only from an analytical perspective. Of course, Scientology, they're double against psychiatry, aren't they? One of the things I don't like. That was pretty bad, that kid getting biffed around the bonds. And also what the person was saying, don't you ever! Like that.
Yeah, these are very specific, all of these examples.
What you start to think is if you had all of these things, I mean, they're appealing to an increasingly specific market.
Your own day-to-day life. Do you sometimes experience self-doubts, negative thoughts?
It's into the air and just see what happens.
Yeah, I was doing that for NASA. Just wait a minute, Scientology. My God, I've been
I knew
like a dick. I could have been joining Scientology.
I even thought, I was like, oh my God, I hope she's in here already.
It's gone from like real, sort of quite aggressive, like, don't you ever, then, fucking come up with a nice riff. It's like, that's not traumatic. That's just time consuming.
Unreasonable fears, upsets, or irrational behavior?
I do have 1 o'clock
Lashing
appointment,
out.
so we'll see.
No
if
good
it
reason.
gets busy in here.
He actually just lashed at that man's hand.
Yeah.
There's no justification. Get that. I'd say float those guys about in space for half an hour. Get them relaxed.
Yeah.
The painful experiences of our past clearly have an effect upon our present behavior.
Do you ever jitter down the street much too quick? Out of focus? All blurry?
But to what degree and why? What causes the mind to depart from rational?
Isn't even the same guy. That was someone else was playing that same Stratocaster
thing?
thrown out the window. Did you ever get your guitar thrown out the window? Although when I was younger, when I'd have to move out of a friend's house, I can remember when they throw a bin bag of
You've
stuff.
had one of those moments, have you?
It wasn't a guitar though. It was just a bin bag of stuff and my mum's lasagna dish. That is not a euphemism.
Thought or behavior. That is the subject.
Is the trauma him or her? Who's getting traumatized? Her? Like, I'm sick of you.
I think she is, but it's too close to the guy who couldn't get the guitar riff.
Because it's his guitar.
So
actually,
it looks like she's annoyed that he couldn't get a good enough guitar solo together.
Look, I'm sick and tired. That's derivative. It sounds like Led Zeppelin. I'm not listening to this anymore. I went through this with my last boyfriend. It's like the guitar is like the littlest hobo.
Right.
Moving
Just one
from
problem to another.
different scenario. This voice keeps on calling me. Get that bloody thing out of here.
Dianetics. Every moment of your life, your mind is recording everything that's happening to you. Every sight, every sound.
No, like that's not traumatic having to get a taxi either.
No. She looks very confident at this point because I think our focus here is not the car or the man, it's the woman.
That woman, she's just recording all of these items.
Every taste, smell, pain.
Hated that though, didn't she? Oh, there goes. She's rolled over the ankle. I hate that.
Time to join.
It's time to share all of my shameful secrets with
people who certainly won't use them against me in any way in the future.
Thinking I might leave Scientology now.
That looks
really?
painful.
Well,
Having
did you?
that
I'm
ankle.
going to take you back to Christmas Day, 1998.
A lot of incidents with guitars.
PTSD time.
What about when you threw that Stratocaster out the window? I was angry. We was in a breakup, and that lasagna dish. Oh, so it's a snitch's creed.
Emotion, touch, everything. These recordings form what is called the time track, a consecutive record of all the experiences accumulated throughout your existence.
Though, so maybe it is good. I don't know, Scientology. Why not? It's got something for everyone. Certainly that
What made
advert.
you suddenly think? Was it because that's like a film reel now? You suddenly think it's good?
I like it. I remember they tried to get me. Well, no, actually, they didn't try to get.
You went in, is what happened. You were bored one day,
And I
don't know, seeking attention or something down Tottenham Court
They
Road.
asked me, get out. Get out of here. We don't want you in our religion. You're ruining it for us. And also, when I did a film with Tom Cruise, I was trying to see if I could get him to say, do you want to be in it?
I know.
And he was like, no, man, we don't want you in Scientology. You can use the trailer for exercise and then get out. Like, let me do
The
it.
monkey's busy in there.
That little monkey. That was on a film called Rock of Ages I'd done with him, Alec Baldwin. I hope we've been in it. Good film. Listen, what about Skittles? What about them?
Oh, right.
What do you want, Skittles or Churchill? Decide, you lot in the chat. Do you want to see us analysing from this week in history, Skittles or Churchill? Skittles.
Are you gonna be
Robert
on
Green?
Churchill?
I don't think so.
Churchill. Everyone's well up for Churchill.
What's
Okay,
that on
now, this
YouTube?
week in history, Churchill declared an end of war. And notice how media has evolved, and yet there is
Sidekick.
still some
That's
subterfuge and direction.
Gerald.
You'll notice when he starts to
Big
look in his
Gerald.
pocket before he's taking his glasses off because it's been stage directed. And the grandiosity and
I don't
pomp
remember
that's
his
here in
name.
the semiotics of
Please
the
say
opening
it.
sequence still is retained by news media to this day. Remember, news is just a TV program that frames and presents arguments that are beneficial to establish power. It's not actually, I'm the news, so you better take me seriously. Like, school, just like old bollocks, isn't it? Don't have to take it seriously. If you don't want, just walk out the back, have a fag. Better off on your Todd, I say.
I think,
What I meant by have a
Maynard Huey
cigarette,
is here.
better off alone, because I've lapsed into all
There's
sorts
somebody
of
communicating
useless-
upstairs.
That's it. No, we can't have Churchill eating Skittles. It's not a deep fake. This is
Let's see if
actual
I can
news.
find
We're
it.
trying our best. Let's have a look at Churchill announcing the end of the war. Note the grandiosity. Note Churchill's easy charisma, but note is how lacking in production it is. I think they should push in a little bit tighter. I'd want a bit more eyeball out of Churchill.
Oh, 48 Laws of Power.
Through 5 years of total war, Winston Churchill has led our
Total war. No. Like it's a truck rally.
people to their greatest victory after some of the darkest hours in our history. Great issues still lie ahead. And at this time,
like a good
it is
one.
fitting that the British nation should listen once again to the words of Mr. Churchill.
5 years ago, I promised you blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
Sounds like a lovely weekend.
And your untiring response,
I think I got your 48 Laws of Power
in the
before, but
end, victory
I don't know. I
over
cleaned up my
Germany.
email the other day.
Today, we still have tears. Not so many, thank God. But the conquest of Japan, hand in hand with our American allies, is a formidable undertaking.
Hadn't yet bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I suppose what's a joy at looking at old
Hi.
media is, of course, we have the
How you doing?
benefit of hindsight. A
Good.
statesman like
Welcome.
Churchill, condemned by many as a
North.
warmonger, in particular because of the bombing
It's okay.
of Dresden that was subsequently regarded as
Right.
superfluous.
Right here for you.
You also, I don't know, man. I find it hard. It's because we've been propagandized, haven't we? Even when I see him, and it's not quite what you think it's going to be.
So you're interested in working with
The
Vectrum?
nose and a little more stilted. I'm still being so sort of coached.
What you bring? Okay, let me scan those real quick and I can give them right back to you.
History seems simpler. When we had, like, say we have Aaron Maté on, and like, you know, he's someone that's so kind of, he's such a brilliant journalist. But what would I want to say? So assiduously anti-war, meticulous in his analysis, and like, of course, he is a Jewish man, and like he's been quite critical of, for example, Israel's occupation of Palestine, that kind of thing. And I go to him once when he was on. Are you just against all wars, mate? Like, what if, like, the Second World War, during the Second World War, would you be going, oh, Britain, they're out of order, and the US shouldn't have done? And he's like, no, that was like a pretty serious conflict, and it was different, and it was necessary. And I think that some people, sometimes, you know, because we all exist in these silos and enclaves in places like Rumble, where because the free speech aspect is so important, sometimes you recognize that you are prioritizing certain types of information, particularly me. My biases now are I do not trust the mainstream media. I do not trust the establishment at all. And I think I feel somewhat vindicated in that. But when, like, I hear friends of mine that are part of the more conventional liberal establishment or old school sort of liberal leanings, and they say, no, this war against Russia, it's like that.
Right.
It's like that kind of a war. Do you ever have like doubts about it? Think, no, maybe this is a just war, and like, you know, like, of course we're sympathetic to Ukrainian people and it's terrible and all that. You know, we talk about it all the time, of course. But
Yeah,
do you ever have doubts about
Well,
it?
we'll have Max Abrams on soon discussing this very fact, and I mean all the stuff that has been uncovered about the situation. In
Some of the
Ukraine,
paperwork we're going to do will ask for your license
obviously, world
numbers.
in which the war's been sustained, the money that's been spent. I mean,
will
we have the information,
Right.
I think it's really interesting watching this and comparing it. I mean, at the time, you know, my granddad would have been probably not watching it because he was in the war at the time, but the public watched this
Wow.
and they
Yeah,
to the point where they
don't,
looked
not too
to
far.
Churchill
If you're
as
it's
the-
the same address, you're pretty
and
close to the
someone who's
facility.
revered
You know where it's
for
at?
the word, you know,
The main
people
facility?
listen. I just think it's amazing to compare that.
It's on South Telegraph, down by Dunbar.
Does a speech, and we
Yeah.
immediately just think, well, that's a lie, and that's rubbish, and that's just propaganda, and that's it's just incredible.
Oh, yeah,
Obviously,
oh,
I'm
yeah.
not suggesting like.
Yeah, this is just the mix
these
plant
kind of things
where they
go
mix
on
the ingredients
in
together
time,
and then
but the way
they
in which
ship
it's
it over
changed
to
and the way
the
in which
packaging
we feel about our
facility.
leaders
That's
is
where all
massively
the
changed.
Yeah, he notoriously
It's a much more
blundered in
modern
part of the
facility,
campaign
too,
around
not this
Norway. There is the bombing
redundant-
of Dresden. He was a depressive. He was an alcoholic.
It's
But
180 years old, this building.
Iconoclasm
Yeah.
aside, human beings are
People
flawed.
didn't
One time when I
used to be as tall as they are
participated in
now
a
because
riot,
everyone's like,
one
oh,
of
it's a
those
Michigan
May Day
basement.
riots
Well,
that
no,
you
it's
have
not.
in
This
London
was a
years ago.
full-size
When they
basement
put
back
that
in the
green strip
day.
of turf on the Churchill statue, I was sort of there at that bit, like Zelig or Forrest Gump. I remember I was there at various points.
Have you done anything online yet with our
I was
website?
sort of like watching that. I was been on
Okay,
drugs
that's fine. We'll get through
and
it.
like I remember feeling like that There are some people who, even if you disagree with them, you have to somehow honour that they exemplify something. You can sort of iconoclise, if that's indeed a word,
The
like
guy's
yourself
not
out
here
of
yet,
heroes.
so
Like, well, this person did that, that person did that, and start to recognise, maybe with someone like Churchill.
Yeah, I've been helping out one of our other offices down in Rochford, Ohio, in the evening. So usually I'm here. Normally I would be here all day during the day, but now I don't get here till
So it
almost
seems
1
like a sort of a
o'clock.
more legitimate
I gotta
conflict
cover there
due
at
to the
night.
sort of freight of the enemy, the
No big
atrocities
deal.
conducted under.
It was
the
temporary
Third
back in
Reich,
November.
Genocide, persecution, murder,
Which is okay. It's been a long time since I've worked afternoons.
and in some ways, it's sort of literally you can trace.
We're doing it.
My sons, for example, were latterly employed. Allegedly, life within sort of American institutions. Some people feel like it goes
Folder
like
going for you.
a little bit
We'll
beyond
check
that,
the
don't
computer once I get it connected here.
Should we get an actual? Should we get an actual? Excuse me. We get an actual expert on. As you want to see here some news?
Yeah, we could look at some.
Later on, we've got Max Abrams, as Gareth said, who will not be speculating wildly over this week in history. He'll be sort of like or war and what causes war and who benefits from the Ukraine-Russia conflict. He'll be giving us hard facts. In particular, was that a false flag attack on the Kremlin, as the American media said, or was it actually an attack on the Kremlin? We'll be talking to Max Abrams about that. Now it's time for our in-depth analysis into the Ukraine war. This is brilliant. You're going to love this. This is fantastic.
Right now, the main
Why
shift
is
that
it
they're looking
in
for
public,
folks
the
is the
American
first
government
shift.
and media
They're
machine
10-hour
are
shifts.
saying one thing, it's a winnable war, the Ukrainian people
that means
brave,
you only
not
have to work 4
disputing
days a
that, it's
week.
only a matter of
It's Monday
time.
through
Whilst
Thursday
in private,
right now.
as
So it's
revealed
kind of a
by the
type
Pentagon
shift,
Papers
because you
part
get a
two,
3-day weekend
they
every
have
week.
significant and real doubts about
The
the
first
outcome
part
of
we'll
that
go
war.
through is
Here's
just
the
getting
news.
you in our
No.
system,
Here's the
so
mother
we can
effing
make sure you're
news.
paid properly, the tax forms and all that stuff. And then I'll go over the food safety part that the food FDA requires. We'll give you a little handbook and everything. We'll talk about color coding with scoops and brushes, depending on the type of material it is and stuff. Okay. If you have any questions while we're going through this, feel free to ask. You're the only one I have scheduled today. So then after we're done, I get to go get my tire fixed. It's gonna slowly. Have you slide over this?
So why are top brass from the military lying under
Now,
oath
these
that there is a
computers are
plan, that it
dinosaurs.
can be one? Is that
The
not
internet's nice
perjury
and back
and
here,
lying?
but
And why can't the Pentagon pass any audits? What exactly is
This
going
is just
on over
letting you
there?
know that
Why
I'm
are we not
dealing with
focusing on the
second
fact
about.
that you're being asked to pay for a war that even the people that advocate for it publicly do not believe can be won? Hopefully, though, one of the political parties and its representatives will give you an oppositional view. Let's start with Kevin McCarthy, Republican Speaker of the House. See what he's got to say.
Yes, sir.
It's going to open up something in just a second or a minute.
We know that you don't
There it
support,
goes.
the
Hey.
current unlimited and uncontrolled supplies of weaponry and aid to Ukraine.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Okay.
The sound here is not good. Did he say I don't support aid to Ukraine? No, I vote for aid for Ukraine. I support aid for Ukraine. I do not support what your country has done to Ukraine. I do not support your killing of the children either. And I don't think it's right. And we will continue to support because the rest of the world sees it just as it is.
Well, killing children is bad. Presumably, that means all children. Let's see if we can get another perspective on financially supporting through your tax dollars via the military-industrial complex the war from Karine Jean-Pierre on behalf of the Democrats.
Look, we're glad to hear that Speaker McCarthy agrees it is vital to keep supporting Ukraine.
I would say it's the military-industrial complex that they're ultimately supporting. There are a lot of variables, but who will definitely benefit, continue to benefit, because they're benefiting already, is the military-industrial complex. Let me know what you think in the chat in the comments.
The widespread bipartisan support.
It'll do the dashes for you automatically
has
for the
received,
social.
has
Do you
been
not know it?
to those efforts, and we agree that it is important for that support to continue, and we're glad to hear.
Is there someone you could call to get it?
When it comes to war, it's great that both parties completely agree.
That's fine. I mean, you're young, so you haven't used it that much in your lifetime yet. So, yeah, I have somebody. There's somebody you could text to maybe just get it. Because it's almost every form you're going to fill out is going to ask.
He used to work for Raytheon.
Okay.
Make weapons. That's probably not relevant, though.
I think it's
Ukrainians
kind
have
of cute.
inflicted significant casualties on the Russians, and they have depleted their inventory of armored vehicles in a way that no one would have ever imagined. And so now we see Russia reaching for T-54 and T-55 tanks because of the level of damage that Ukrainians have inflicted on them. Based upon the things that we've done and continue to do, I think Ukraine will have a real good chance.
Great. There they are, publicly declaring that Ukraine has a real good chance. Well, let's hope that there isn't another perspective that's being concealed from the public, because remember, all these billions of dollars of aid, 50% of which goes to the military-industrial complex, is coming from you. So I guess you have a right to know, or do you not have a right to know the truth? Can you not handle it? Is it a bit too much? Let me know in the chat in the comments how much truth you can handle. Get ready for some truth right now. It's time for the Biden administration to level with the American people about the Ukraine war. For more than a year, the White House has painted for the public a rosy picture of battlefield and strategic success. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, President Biden proclaimed during his visit to Kiev in February. We believe that we can win. They, the Ukrainians, can win if they have the right equipment, the right support, said Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Changing it from we to they, because of course, as you know, and remind me of the comment, it's not a proxy war. Oh, no, you didn't. Secretary of State Tony Blinken has repeatedly insisted that the war will be a strategic defeat for Russia that will leave it weakened and incapable of future aggression. Even the administration's most sober-minded observer of the war, Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley, has asserted that Ukraine has the leadership and morale to beat Russia. Driven by these optimistic pronouncements, Biden officials have insisted that justice must prevail in the war. They say that Putin and other Russian officials must be tried for war crimes. But don't talk to the ICC, the International Criminal Court, about that, because you might find that that literally means that America is similarly guilty for war crimes. So even the war crimes that Russia are guilty of, and by the way, they are, cannot be reported through ICC channels because it would demonstrate a precedent by which the Americans would similarly be convicted. Ah, the corruption. They insist, as the victim of unprovoked Russian aggression, Ukraine alone has the right to determine whether to seek a settlement or concede territory. The bottom line from the White House has been that American resolve will not waver and that the war will result in a uniformly happy ending for the United States and its allies. Don't be childish. A democratic, independent, sovereign and prosperous Ukraine, a chastened and defanged Russia, and a peaceful and stable Europe, and all can and will be achieved without committing US troops to fight against Russia and risking what Biden has called World War III. Quite a lot of mad things in there, really. Democratic, independent. Ooh, look at what BlackRock and Vanguard will be doing after. Let's check and see if any other major global corporations in the field of energy, for example, will be profiting from events subsequent to a conclusion to this conflict. And are there already US troops in there? And what are the revelations of Buddy Boy Jack Texera? Let's get into all of that. The purported Pentagon leaks of classified documents, officially unconfirmed but covered widely in Western media, raise profound questions about this narrative. If these press reports are accurate, they suggest that the United States is tiptoeing much closer to a direct war with Russia than the Biden team has acknowledged. They also allege that as of March, there were a small number of undisclosed American Special Forces personnel on the ground in Ukraine, raising the question of what Washington would do should Russians intentionally or unintentionally strike them. Moreover, the reports paint a much bleaker picture of Kiev's prospects in the war than the White House has acknowledged. Ukraine's challenges in massing troops, ammunition, and equipment could cause its military to fall well short of Kiev's original goals for an anticipated counteroffensive aimed at retaking Russian-occupied areas this spring. The bleak assessment from early February warns of significant force generation and sustainment shortfalls, and the likelihood that such an operation will result in only modest territorial gains. It's a marked departure from the Biden administration's public statements about the vitality of Ukraine's military, and is likely to embolden critics who feel the United States and NATO should do more to push for a negotiated settlement to the conflict. Under what circumstances would a negotiated settlement be worse? In the end, that is what you will get. And it's difficult not to imagine at this point that part of the motivation for prolonging this conflict is that it's profitable. We all know what power is imposed upon Washington through lobbying, through donations, the fact that both parties parrot the same line when it comes to this issue, even law. Stay free with Russell Brand. See it first on Rumble.
Hey, look at this.
No worries.
The Ukraine government is corrupt as the US government. Right. Astra2Tuch says, let's not forget that Russian kids were killed too. Yeah, no one benefits from, well, actually, the military.
Oh, no.
Do benefit from war. Remember, if you're watching us on locals right now, and I suggest you do, just press the red button on the screen. You can join us straight after this for our live locals conversation with RFK. Put your questions for RFK in the...
Now this login that you're setting up here, you're going to use this app beyond today. This is what you're going to use to log in to check your pay stubs and stuff like that.
Russia in Victory Day speech, and of course you'll be well aware of the drone strike on the Kremlin that the West declared was a false flag story. In fact, let's have a look at that before we go to our guest, Max Abrams. Here are the mainstream media making that claim right now. Check it.
This really does smell like a false flag operation on the part of the Russians, a diversion, if you will.
Well, there you are. Why don't we have a little conversation now with Max Abrams, expert in international security, specializing in terrorism, counterterrorism, and U.S. foreign policy. Thanks for coming on, Max.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Max, the term false flag is one that's used a lot in these circles. What in particular makes you feel that the recent attack on the Kremlin was a legitimate attack rather than a false flag one?
Well, I don't want to pretend that I have any sort of inside information about this, but what I will say is a few things. There are sometimes false flag attacks. We've seen them, for example, the Gulf of Tonkin. There are more false flag allegations than there are actual false flag attacks, right? So you hear the allegation all the time, oh, this attack must be a false flag, but the actual number is much smaller. This is particularly true in the case of Russia. If someone were to Google, false flag, Ukraine war, they'll see probably dozens of times when these sort of establishment pundits say this is a false flag, but no empirical evidence ever materializes on this. The most notable case is the Nord Stream attack. where Russia was blamed for blowing up its own gas lines, and here now Russia is blamed for attacking the Kremlin. And I suspect that we're going to see many, many more allegations of false flags because there are going to be many more Ukrainian attacks inside of Russia. We know that from the leaks, from the Pentagon leaks, that Zelensky has instructed his fighters to attack inside of Russia. And when the Ukrainians think, or when supporters of the Ukrainians think that that attack is going to be risky or counterproductive or embarrassing, they will try to distance Ukraine from the attack and blame it on the Russians. A lot of my research focuses on militant groups, and we see this in the sort of in the militant group space as well. So, for example, on 9/11, 9/11 in many ways was counterproductive because bin Laden said that he wanted to get the United States out of the Persian Gulf. The United States responded by occupying the Persian Gulf. So many people concluded and said, no, it couldn't have been bin Laden. It had to have been, an inside job. With the Oklahoma City attacks in 1995, that was also bad for the Patriot movement. It was counterproductive for the Patriot movement. And so a lot of people said, oh, no, it couldn't have been Timothy McVeigh. We've seen the same thing in Algeria in the 1990s, where they committed all sorts of stupid attacks against civilian targets. And so a lot of conspiracy theories formed saying that it couldn't have been the GIA. It had to have been the Algerian government. Basically, whenever there's an attack inside of Russia, which could reflect badly on the Ukrainians, they're going to blame it on Russia. And so, I've studied this sort of.
It doesn't matter which one you pick. I don't even know why I even asked that, because the old SMS systems, it used to matter. It doesn't anymore. So usually the most popular ones are on top. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Of course, the question that people frequently ask when such
events, just click next on this page.
When the events are not easy to discern, when it's not plain whether or not it was a false flag or a legitimate
attack. And then this one as well.
Always ask who benefits.
It's going to give you the opportunity
what you're
to
saying,
give
Max,
you,
is that just because the 9/11 attacks led to the ability to invade Iraq, led to the ability to surveil the domestic population, the introduction of new wars, you can't automatically conclude from that something as simple as it was, the famous conspiracy theory that 9/11 was an inside job. But there are sometimes alignments of interest and sometimes the manipulation of events. And we were watching clips of Churchill earlier, and of course, some people believe that an American warship was sunk as a precipitation to US involvement in the war. And perhaps these are the idea that there are strategic moves, or that things are allowed to take place, even if they aren't directly undertaken by sort of, CIA deep state operatives. Even though we're something like the Nord Stream attack, it feels like.
I think there is one there, isn't there? Yep, yard sign. Yep.
From Finland or Norway or whatever.
Those silly little yard signs get me more than any of my social media marketing or anything like that. Those little signs do the most.
The thing is that militant groups and national militaries, they do a lot of stupid stuff. So the fact that they, attack some target, which is going to be counterproductive for them, that doesn't mean that they didn't do it. I expect to see many more Ukrainian attacks.
It's amazing. I mean, I spent $60 on those signs. I've got a few more that I put out once in a while, but I mean, our corporate office pays for marketing on Facebook. Then we do Indeed as well, and it's just I get more calls than anything just from those yard signs.
Begin to erode some international support if the
Ukrainian
attack is seen
as
being too indiscriminate, for example, or being too risky in terms of pushing the likelihood of nuclear escalation. But I do think that this is an important aspect of the Ukrainian war, is that we are going to watch it expand. It is not going to stay simply within Ukraine. More and more, I believe it's going to migrate into Russia. And what I'm concerned about, and many people are concerned about, is that the war could expand even beyond that, that it could involve Poland, that Article 5 of NATO could be invoked. And what we'll see is no longer a proxy war inside of Ukraine, but a direct military confrontation between the US, NATO, and against Russia. This is my worst fear, and I don't think that it's unreasonable to have.
Max, it certainly shows how little faith there is in the US government, in institutions like NATO and the media at large, that none of us feel broadly certain that we can simply take in good faith the narratives we are offered when they so plainly underwrite financial agenda and directives of dominion. Thank you very much, Max, for joining us on the show. You can read Max's book, Rules for Rebels, The Science of Victory in Militant History, and we'll post a link to that in the chat right now. Join us over on Locals for more details. Max, thank you very much for coming on the show and illuminating this difficult issue for us.
Anytime. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you for coming. Wasn't he so professional? Why can't you be more like Max? Why is it that
I
you
try.
can't? You must be more.
don't know
Go
why
to
it is.
become a professor.
I'm not
Be a professor.
I don't have the
Oh,
qualifications.
right, that's one of the reasons. See, so I knew we'd get there. Investigation, which is what Max would have done. So maybe I'm more like him certainly than you. You can join us immediately now on Locals. Press the red button on your screen if you're watching this on Rumble, and you have to. It's the only place we broadcast for a number of reasons. And you can join us now. We're going to chat to RFK. Literally, it's going to be like a 5-minute turnaround, right? So get onto Locals right now and send us your questions. And the questions will be filtered through to us. Remember, so that will be on Rumble. The RFK show will be on Friday. That'll be our Friday special show. Also, we've got Whitney Webb coming on talking to us about their latest Epstein revelations. Before we end the show, we want to pay tribute and offer our condolences to Glenn Greenwald after the loss of his husband, David Miranda. We consider Glenn not only a fantastic journalist and broadcaster, but a friend over here at Rumble, a person that helped us to appreciate that this is a place we could come to join the conversation around free speech, anti-establishment values, legitimate journalism and investigation, even though we are quite silly occasionally. Glenn, we feel your loss and we're all praying for you and offering you our love to you and your whole family, your kids, your dogs.
Now, this confirmation number is absolutely useless.
You and that he was
There's no need
good
for it.
and beautiful man. May he rest in peace in God's grace. Thank you, Glenn. You lot, join us over on Locals. We're going to talk to RFK right now. Send your questions in the chat and we will pass on those questions to him. So if you're with us on Locals right now, join us for the chat with RFK. If not, you'll be able to see it on Friday on Rumble. Whitney Webb's joining us soon as well. We're going for it now, guys. We're going deep, aren't we, baby? Why can't you be more like Max Abrams?
I'll try.
It's just got to go to universities. I think it's one of the things we have to do. All right, see you in a minute on Locals, guys, or tomorrow. Join us then, not for more of the same, but for more of the different. Until then, stay free.
Switch on, switch on, switch off, switch on, switch on, switch on, switch off, switch on. Switch on, switch on.
Practical is train yourself to see past the front people put on. So this is sort of very similar. Train yourself to see their mythology. Look for signs of their true character or true signs of their character. How do we do this? The example you give in the book is Howard Hughes. He was actually a terrible businessman, but yet most people think of him as this like brilliant creator. And meanwhile, he was, according to the Leonardo DiCaprio movie, peeing in bottles in a room and made a plane that didn't fly, or at least didn't fly well.
Right. Well, the idea is that people have patterns in life, right? And the patterns reveal what I call their character. And character is something very deeply ingrained in a person. It's that genetic component we talked about earlier.
So I'm going to load some
Early
forms for you to
education
fill out, and you're going to log back in and do
something
those.
so deep inside that they can't control it. And you have a character and I have a character. And what it does over time is it creates patterns. We end up falling into patterns in life, in our work world, in our personal relationships, etc. And you can see this over time. And that reveals that essence, that core that we are, often in a more negative light. And so Howard Hughes had this pattern of enticing people into this kind of business venture because he was very ambitious, very grandiose. And then he wouldn't deliver. And he wouldn't deliver for various reasons. One thing is he was an insane micromanager. He had to oversee every single detail of that plane, but he couldn't because he's only one person. And he'd get overwhelmed with information and he'd become paralyzed and the project would never happen. He would be asked to build 200 enormous transport jets for the Defense Department and he'd build only one. You know, the Goose, whatever the thing is.
Bruce Goose, I think was the name?
Yeah. Okay, because he was so paralyzed with he had to control everything, etc. And it spilled over into when he produced films and he directed films, and he had the same mentality. And each time it failed, and yet people would not pay attention to those failures because they got sucked in to the aura of Howard Hughes, this adventurer, this pilot who would risk his life doing things, which was true. He was very almost reckless in his flying planes, etc. So they bought the legend of Howard Hughes, and they weren't seeing the reality was that this man was an awful businessman. He was just a terrible businessman, right? He you know, and the clues were all there, and yet they were falling for the appearance of this really smooth, charismatic man. And it became comic by the end because he had 4 or 5 or 6 failures in his past And still he managed to convince people up until like the 50s or 60s to fund his wild projects. So the idea is, to sum it all up, is stop paying attention to people's charm, their presence, their facade, to how excited they are when you first meet them, to their resume.
Okay,
to the
now you're going to
went
click
to
on where it says
Harvard or
employee
Yale,
login.
etc., and look at their character, what lies underneath. So if you looked at Howard Hughes's character, you would have seen someone deeply insecure and deeply controlling to the point where he could never finish anything. And if you saw that, you would have never signed on to one of his projects and lost millions of dollars, right? So people give signs of this. They give signs of their behavior. They give signs of the fact that they're not a team player. Character, I like to decide to judge as either strong or weak. You want a strong character for a partner in an intimate relationship, for a business partner, for a colleague at work. A strong character can take criticism. That's the number one thing. A person who is strong inside can take criticism and can use it constructively. They don't become defensive. A strong person, when they're stressed, they don't crumble. They don't suddenly become this whiny little baby. They can handle it. They have presence of mind. A strong person can work with other people. They're not dominated by their ego. They don't have to have everything on their own.
Okay, what you're looking there is the employee portal. Okay, as you see in the middle on top, it says pay history.
Based on their
That's where your pay stubs will be. Okay, you can access this from your phone or anything.
Crumble into pieces.
All right.
Right.
Today you're going to click on where it says
eDocuments.
eDocuments,
Whiny and defensive, and they can't learn.
and then click on that green button there. It says Employee Start Wizard.
Want to advance their own agenda.
Just maximize that window.
Because they're already working.
Start going through these forms. I will be giving you a written copy of these rules and stuff that you're going to sign off on.
Talk in my books about how there are always signs what the underlying character is.
Realize I don't have it.
If you like that clip and you want to see more just like this, subscribe to our channel for more, or click on the videos on screen now. To see full-length episodes, check out our main channel in the description below.
And if I could boil down what I think makes a person successful in one sense or one word, I would say it's your...
What should we know about the daily laws? A new book, 366 Meditations on Power, Seduction, Mastery, Strategy, and Human Nature. Why is this going to be helpful for people to chunk on a daily basis something that they can take action on for yourself? What do you think?
Well, okay, so I've been at this, Lewis, for 25, 26 years now, which is a very good chunk of time. And I've learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could boil down what I think makes a person successful in one sense or one word, I would say it's your attitude in life is the cutting edge, right? It isn't your skill. It isn't all these other things. It's how you look at the world, right? If you look at the world through the lens that's negative, like nobody likes me, the world is against me, I'm not really good enough, I don't deserve things, that's what you're going to get in life, right? If you look at the world like there's opportunity for me, I'm good, I'm aggressive, I know how to get there, I'm going to get it, that's what you're going to get. So how you look at the world is what you're going to get. And the attitude to me that is the most powerful and the most forceful, particularly nowadays, is a realistic attitude, right? You're able to look at the world. First of all, you're able to look at yourself and assess who you are and not be filled with all these illusions or these insecurities. This is who I am, realistically. This is my problems, my weaknesses, my strengths. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm destined to create. Your ability to look at other people realistically and see through their appearances, see through their masks. They pretend to be this, but they're actually that, and I'm not going to be fooled. I'm not going to be naive, and I'm not going to be fooled. I'm going to see into that. This is what the world is like right now. These are the trends. I'm not deceived by all the things in social media. I know what's going on and where the world is headed in 3 years. You've got this laser focus. You're seeing through yourself. You're seeing through other people. You're seeing through all the bullshit in the world. You understand what's happening. You can't fail when you have an attitude like that, right? And you also understand the power of being fearless and taking risks, which is also a part of a realistic attitude. All right, how do you get there, right? Well, it's not easy because we're born with a certain attitude. We're born with things, with burdens and baggage from our childhood, etc. It's like a daily process.
Yes.
Right? You have to see first your negative attitude, where it comes from, the problems with it, what is holding you back. And now you have the power to begin to fashion it to a degree that's going to actually be something strong and powerful. Well, this is what the book is designed for. So I've been covering this for 25 years. It's scattered across 6 books, right? In Mastery, I talk to you how to be realistic about your career. In Power, I tell you how to be realistic about the power games going on. In War, how to be strategic. Human nature, how to see into people. But it's all scattered, and it's hard to find the cohesive thread through all these different books. This book is going to bring it all together. It's going to help you. It's very laser focused. And I talk about it in the introduction on crafting that hardcore realistic attitude about you, where you're headed in your career, the mistakes you're making, about people and their weaknesses and the power games they play, about what it takes to influence and persuade people on and on and on. And you're going to be doing it every day. Now, I know because I meditate every morning. I've been doing it for 11 years now. It's saved my life, I can honestly say. Every morning, I sit on the pillows for 40 minutes now. I just focus on getting outside of myself. And I learn through this process that day by day by day by day, change occurs. It doesn't occur in a dramatic way. It doesn't occur like, wow, I'm different now. It almost occurs unconsciously. Things seep into you that you're not even aware of. This book is designed to get under your skin day by day by day by day. You're going to read it. It's going to make you think. You can go on to the next day. It's going to kind of strengthen that idea, come at it from another angle. And slowly it's going to get under your skin, and it's going to alter how you look at the world and alter your attitude. And then maybe you'll reread it in a year. That's what it's designed for.
For me, this is the exact type of book that is perfect for me, because it's hard for me to get through a full book, any type of book. But when I can go to one page every day and read something that's going to be powerful to help me improve and give me a tip, a strategy, an idea to improve something in my life, it's the perfect type of book. So make sure you guys get a few copies, the Daily Laws, because your friends are going to enjoy this, especially in a world where for most people it's hard to stay focused long periods of time and keep their attention on something for a week or weeks through an entire book sometimes. I don't want to generalize, but the millennials of the world, this might be a good book for them to get as a gift.
Type it out.
So get this, and every day you'll get a page that'll give you some meditations on power, seduction, mastery, strategy, and human nature. It's going to help you improve your life. So make sure you guys check this out. Where are you spending the most time on social media right now?
I probably have become, I have somebody managing my TikTok account.
Yes. There's some good TikToks on there.
Yeah, I don't really spend a lot of time on it, but I have looked at it, and that's kind of a new frontier, and it's kind of exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. And it's not natural to me, but I'm learning it.
Yes.
Because, I'm of that age where it's like TikTok. Whoa, I don't know, but I'm enthusiastic. Yes. I probably spend more time on Instagram, I have to admit.
You're Robert Greene Official on Instagram, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I've kind of gone off Facebook like a lot of people. And I've never really been a big Twitterer.
Okay.
Although I do have a Twitter account.
Robert Greene there, but Robert Greene Official, you're posting more on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have posts on Twitter as well. And then I have the TikTok stuff that's going on.
Is that just Robert Greene?
In the gray box, just check the first one.
If they search your name, we'll find it there. We'll link it up all in the show notes as well, so people can see it there.
I do blow the gray.
I want to ask you,
for some reason where it says other names, you have to put
a question that I've asked you before a few times. This is your fourth or fifth time on now. It's called the 3 Truths. And I have your previous ones here, so I'm curious if it's evolved or changed as you have maybe a different perspective on life now. So the question goes like this. Imagine it's your last day on earth many years away from now, and you continue to accomplish all of your goals and dreams. But for whatever reason, you've got to take all of your work with you. It's your last day, and you have 3 final things you get to share with the world. These 3 lessons you would leave behind, or 3 truths you would share with people. And they wouldn't have access to your books or your work or this interview or any of your content. what would be those 3 truths that you would leave behind?
Whoa. Well,
Whoa.
So recently I suffered a stroke like 3 years ago, came out of the blue. I was totally healthy, swimming, biking, doing everything, and now it's all taken away from me. So the first truth is, don't take anything for granted. Don't assume that what you have now is going to go on forever. It could be taken away from you tomorrow. And appreciate and love deeply what you have right now. It is an insane gift to be young. I wish I could go back to being young again because that was the most fun time in my life, right? You're in your 20s, you're healthy, you're exciting, you're seducing, you're just having lots of fun. Well, it doesn't last. Well, appreciate it and soak up every second of it, because something like this could happen to you tomorrow, particularly with this COVID that we're all living through. So do not take the smallest thing for granted, because it could be taken away from you.
That's one.
Well, do not be afraid to face your own kind of weaknesses, right? And I'm speaking from experience because you're asking me like what's happened recently, And I've had to come to terms with my own limitations because I thought that I could do anything, right? And it's not just the physical limitation, it's the mental limitations. It's the frustrations that I have. It's the anger with myself. It's like, why can't I? Is there something wrong with me that in my physical therapy I'm not able to strengthen my left arm, etc.? And I've been afraid, I think, to confront that and to see that I am my own enemy. I've probably gotten in the way of my own recovery by my attitude, by being impatient, by being in too much of a hurry, right? So I've had to step back and I've had to have some humility. So that's sort of the lesson.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not as great as I thought I was, but I can work on that. Now that I know that my impatience is getting in my way, I'm going to work on that every day. So if at night I stumble or I drop something, I'm going to calm down. And I'm going through this kind of physical therapy now, which is actually trying to alter my attitude towards my own body. But I'm confronting my own limitations, and it can be at any age, and it's actually, helping me get through this kind of ordeal that I'm going through.
Wow. Okay.
3.
3.
I guess it's, I hope it doesn't sound too soft, like Robert Greene is not like the 48 Laws of Power anymore, because I am still that hardcore person. Don't worry about me. All right, I haven't lost my edge, maybe a little.
Yeah.
Is the ability to kind of forgive people. So, and I'm not the most forgiving person. So I had a thing in mastery that's called "Suffer fools gladly." It's an expression from the Bible. And it means the world is always filled with foolish people, fools, who are stupid, who don't know what they're doing, etc. And your tendency is to get angry and irritated and upset. And instead, you need to suffer them. You need to be tolerant towards them because there are too many of them in this world, right?
Sure.
And I've never been good at that, I've learned, like, when I'm judging people, etc., to sort of, it kind of goes to that other one. They're all interrelated. But, maybe I'm too quick to judge. Maybe I can understand their problem. Maybe if I've hired this researcher and they're not working out, maybe it's because I'm not explaining myself very well, or they've got other issues. And I'm not going to maybe try and repair the relationship or keep them on as a researcher, but I'm going to forgive them. I'm not going to carry the weight. I'm not going to carry them around with me. There's this old Buddhist kind of parafable where these 2 monks come up to a river, and there's this old woman who can't cross the river, and one of the monks, because they can kind of walk across, she's too old, one of the monks puts her on his shoulders and carries her across and lets her go, and she's so grateful. As they walk on, the other monk says, you know, we're never supposed to do that as Buddhists. You're not supposed to touch people. You're not supposed to handle them. You violated one of the most important laws of Buddhism. On and on and on. He went criticizing him about it. Finally, the guy said, well, look, I left that woman on the other side of the river. You're still carrying her right now, right? You're still carrying her mentally with you. Let go, right? So I've created for myself a mantra in my daily meditation. It's called let go. Just let go of the rancor, let go of the hurts, let go of the past, and kind of forgive and kind of be in the moment.
How important is expressing emotions and feelings of the greats that you've studied or the people you've been around? Do they express their emotions and feelings publicly? Do they do it privately? Do they journal? Do they suppress their emotions and just act and just have a positive attitude all the time? What do you think is the importance or lack of importance of
Well,
emotions?
I think everybody's different, but in general, if my knowledge of psychology and all the books I've read is that you pay a price for repressing your emotions. That repressing something eventually comes out. And the great psychologist Carl Jung, he was the one who kind of studied that in great depth. When you repress, for instance, your dark side or your dark emotions, they come out in other ways, right? So trying to always like present yourself as this very stoic person when in fact you're not.
Okay,
You're going to pay a price for it.
form.
It's going to come out in ways you can't control, right? There's
I
going to
assume
be
you
negative
file single or
consequences to that.
married,
And
married
so,
separately.
on
Do
the
you
other
wanna
hand,
claim
you
yourself, or
don't
do
want
you
to
have
be
any
this person
friends
who's
that feel like that?
constantly emoting and telling everybody what you
Nothing
feel
you
like.
have
It's very irritating.
Other than that
You have
first
no
box there, you can
self-control,
skip all
and
of
people are
line.
judging you.
And you
You
just
look like this
on
weak person who
step 5
can't
there.
control your own tongue. You can't control that. Okay, so
And then you
I
go all the way to
compare
the
it
bottom. The rest of it's just a
in my
worksheet.
books and in
Doesn't
talks
change anything. I don't even know why
to
it's
the
a
metaphor of the rider and the horse, right?
Even if you
So
were to put things in
the
those
rider
boxes,
of the
it wouldn't
horse
change anything on the
is your
phone.
rational brain, and the horse is your emotion. It's the animal part of you. It's what makes you angry or excited or fearful. The rider is what makes you kind of, you know, get things done.
Yeah.
If the rider on that horse, I don't know if people have ridden a horse. I used to ride a lot when I was a kid. If you hold the reins too tightly, if you're trying to control the horse and repress it, the horse feels it. It feels it in the way your thighs are constricting it. Horses are very sensitive animals, right? And it won't do anything. It won't follow any of your instructions. It won't go anywhere. Or it will freak out and will run far away and it'll throw you off the horse. But if you just let the horse go anywhere, the horse also feels that. The horse has been tamed to some extent. Feels, this guy I have no respect for him, right? He's not trying to do anything. And the horse will go wherever it wants. You have no control. People who know how to ride horses, they know they have to have a balance. You have to hold the reins, not too tightly, but you have to be able to guide the horse. You have to squeeze with the
Typically,
thighs,
you
but
want to
not
at
too
least claim
tightly.
yourself, though.
The horse, you have to feel relaxed and one with the horse. The horse then gives in,
Perfect.
and you can go anywhere.
They'll tax you.
So you want a balance in life. You want to be able to understand your emotions, right? You want to be able to understand why you're angry, why you're fearful, why you're frustrated, and not just give into the emotion, like let the horse go anywhere. So that maybe next time you understand, well, maybe I don't need to feel anger or fear because it's not really related to anything. So you have a balance. You understand the horse, the emotion, and you can control it to some degree, but not
Version
over
that's all a
control
tax
it
refund
or
is
repress it.
begging for your own
Because
money.
like I know if I get angry a lot, I have anger. I could have anger
whether or not
issues,
it's going to give
right? The moments where I give into it, I regret. If I sent that angry email to my agent,
Oh man,
the next
it's the
day,
worst. You feel bad.
Yeah.
Do you apologize a lot after you're angry, or
Yeah.
do you just kind of say, I'm just
Yeah,
a
I
grumpy
do.
old man now, just like...
Well, I am a grumpy old man, but yeah, I do apologize.
Oh, that's nice.
Apologies are good. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel terrible, right? And so you have to go through a process like, before you send that email, why am I angry? Do your hindsight thing. Will I be feeling angry in 3 weeks? No. Is it really important? Is it possibly my own fault? When you go through that process, you're not repressing the anger. You're not pushing it down so then it explodes 3 days later. When you yell at somebody who inadvertently crosses your path, that's what happens when you repress it. but you understand it and you let it work for
What
you.
can be okay.
You know, okay,
So
I
where
won't
they
like
say
it.
pending review, it just means I have
But
to
then
do
you
my
can use your anger for other things like writing a book, right, et cetera, or believing in some social cause
Right.
that's important,
Yeah.
et cetera. So it's a balance.
I'm curious about 48 Laws of Power and Laws of Human Nature. This is probably going to be a hard question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyways. What was your favorite law from the 48 Laws of Power?
Now, basically, you're just finding
Pre-stroke.
consent if we need to.
And what would you say is your favorite one now?
Required for the
And
start.
same for
We have to run a
human
background
nature.
on you or something like that.
Favorite kind of law of human nature pre-stroke that you're like, this is the thing, the season of my life that I really had connected to, and now something that you
The other
lean
one is
on
the
or
drug. One of
connect
the
to
other
in a
two is
different
drug
way.
screen form, not required to start. But,
Tough question.
It's hard, I get it. I mean, it's
you ever
somebody.
appear intoxicated at work, or if,
Well,
First thing that comes to mind, maybe.
something like that.
Well,
they would
for
do.
me, for the 48 Laws of Power,
just to put it out there,
this
they
will be
consider
kind of
cannabis the same as alcohol,
symmetrical.
because it's
But law
recreational.
number one was always like the most important one to
You know,
me.
just like we wouldn't
never
expect you to come
outshine
in
the
after
master,
drinking, after
because it was the first
cannabis,
law. It was the first
use it on break,
successful book I ever had. When I first
whatever
pitched
you do
it
at
to the
home is
man
up to you,
who produced the
but,
book, I
they
told him the story that
these are the
initiated
machines and stuff like that. They don't want
the
you or someone else.
Never outshine the master. And I had personally
Common sense
violated
stuff.
that law on several occasions, and it caused me a lot of misery and pain in my life.
Why?
Why what?
Why did they cause you a lot of misery and pain by violating the
Well,
law?
this is before I wrote the book. So I had a job in the film business and television show with a very famous person whose name I will not mention. And I was a researcher on it. And I was the best researcher there by far. You know, you count success by how many stories you found and what got actually filmed.
And yours got filmed the most.
I had like a 60% rate or something like that.
Wow.
I knew I was the best. And then I got fired.
Why?
Right?
Because you're outshining the master.
Well, at the time I thought she hated my guts. You know, I pissed somebody off. I said the wrong thing. And I was capable of sometimes doing that because I could have an attitude. And I was blaming other people, etc. But then, you know, it sort of dawning on me. And then later when I wrote the book, it was very clear to me that I had inadvertently made her think that I felt greater than she was, that I was after her job. Other people were really praising me and not praising her so much. I was getting too much attention. And it happened another time, a second time, right? I wasn't controlling myself. And so that law meant a lot to me because it was very painful. Being fired is a very painful experience. I don't know if you've ever been through that.
No, I haven't.
Really?
No, I mean, I've never had a job.
Ah.
Actually, I did get, I got fired once by getting in a fist fight on a golf course. I was a grounds crew kid when I was like 13. And we were playing around. This is a long story. We were playing around, like throwing leaves at each other. And someone punched me in the back of the neck as I'm like throwing leaves at him. So we're raking up like leaves and grass on the golf course. He punched me in the back of the neck, and then I just went crazy and got in a fist fight. I only got in 2 fights, real fights in my life. That was one of them. And I walked back to the kind of the grounds crew shed and washed my knuckles off because they're bleeding. And I was just high on adrenaline. And the kid who I got in a fight with walks back a couple minutes after me, and I couldn't recognize his face.
You punched him that bad?
I mean, it was just like, it was an animalistic reaction when someone punched me. It was just like, you know, I mean, it only lasted for maybe 10 seconds, and then someone took us off. There was other people around and kind of broke it up. But it just kind of hit him in the right spot, I guess, and it kind of swelled over his eye, like a softball in his eye. And I was just like, wow. And it was really the first time I felt like I had any power as a 13-year-old. And the grounds crew like leader or the boss saw him walk up kind of yelling at me. And he just goes, "You're fired." And he like writes a check and gives it to me. And he's like, "Get out of here. Never come back." And I was like, so that was my only.
That was law number 1B, never punch a colleague.
Exactly.
You know?
Never punched anyone. So, but for you, it was stressful and emotional getting fired.
Yeah. I mean, you take it personally, et cetera. And you
were like, I was the best.
I was. I mean, I haven't had many jobs. Didn't stay at a job more than a year my whole life. But whenever I had a job, I worked very hard at it. And, you know, I was very conscientious. So that was very painful.
But don't you want to?
I don't think I've
I
ever
would
seen
think
a
if someone's
license cover with
excelling
16 zeros.
on my team, I'd be like, celebrate them and keep going. Wouldn't you want that? Or do you not want people to?
Well, Lewis, come on.
Wouldn't you want people to accelerate?
You didn't read law number 1. People
Remind
have
me.
egos.
I understand, but
yeah, in a perfect world where angels were everywhere and we all just had wings and we were all just all out for other people and for
Right.
the greater good. Yeah.
Right.
But we happen to live in this planet that's not like that.
I know.
We're descended from primates. We're much different from that. And
So how do
people
you
have egos.
How do you
And
grow
so-
how do you improve in a career but not outshine too much so you stay in the career, I guess?
Well, you have to read law number 1, but you know, you have to first understand a very basic principle of human psychology.
Yeah.
Everybody has an ego, and everybody you meet is insecure. They have insecurities,
mhm.
okay? But your boss, the person above you, has even more insecurities and a larger ego than other people, and you don't think so. You're probably aware that they have an ego, but you don't think that they have insecurities because they're the boss, you know? But actually, they're always worried about whether people like them, whether people respect them, whether people think they're doing a good job or not. They're riddled with doubts, and they're constantly looking out for people to see their body language, etc. Does that guy really respect me? Does he have an attitude, etc.? You don't think that. You think, if I just try hard to please the boss, it will work out wonderfully. But you might be doing something else. You might be stirring up their insecurities. So you have to always be aware in life of people's insecurities. You know, it's like lesson number 1. It's going to save you a lot of painful moments. The people you deal with are riddled with doubts. They're riddled with fears. They have things hanging over them from childhood. They're wondering about themselves. And you inadvertently are feeding their insecurities, and you never intended to. And then you find, wow, look what happened. And you don't even understand why it happened that way. So when you're fired for outshining the master, you don't know why you were fired. And it's very hard to learn a lesson when you don't know why it happened. That's what's so complicated and tricky about people. Because when people do something that's kind of harsh and negative, they never tell you why they're doing it. They always have a cover story, a narrative, right? They have a way of deflecting it as if they aren't to blame. And so you're confused. That's why I wrote the laws of human nature, because you're continually confused, because people never tell you what they're really doing, why they're motivated, why they behave such a way. And you take their words and their appearance for reality, and it's not reality. So, it's, you know, that's the source of so much of your painful experiences in life.
Okay, so law number 1, never outshine the master, was the law that you were really leaning into pre-stroke. Is there one post-stroke that you think about that sticks to you more, that connects to you in a different way now?
Yeah, I would say assume formlessness, which is law number 48. So that's why I said the symmetry.
Ooh, look at you. I like this.
And that's all about kind of being fluid and adapting to circumstances and never having like a concrete form. It's a very military law. Comes from Sun Tzu, and like the perfect army doesn't have a form. You can't figure out where they are, what their strategy is. Their strategy has no form. Or the great swordsman Miyamoto Musashi said that, you know, nobody ever knew what my strategy would be. I was completely formless. So it's a way of being very fluid in life and very open, and never doing the same thing twice, and adapting your what you do to the circumstances around you. And when you have a stroke, you know, it's not easy to do that, right? Because your body certainly isn't capable of being fluid. So your mind has to be fluid. I have to retrain myself from not getting stuck in certain ideas and certain patterns of thinking, certain negative things and certain frustrations and certain ways of looking at the world. I have to be fluid and take each day as it comes and adapt myself to this new body that I have.
Yeah.
So I think about that law a lot.
How does someone, you know, you have a book on mastery. How does someone master the art of something if they're always trying something new every day, or if they're always formless and
I'm gonna send you an
reinventing
email.
themselves every
And
day,
then
or
will be a link.
you know what I mean? From these
click on
swordsmen
it.
you're saying, it's like who's always in a new strategy, but if you want to master
Yes,
something, you typically have to do something over and
have you
over.
fill
to
out your
master
direct
it,
deposit
right?
form?
Yeah, well,
and then
that's the thing
it'll
about my
there's an
books
offer
and
for
about the
insurance
laws.
if you want.
They're about circumstances.
You have up to
so I'm not
30 days
saying
after you start to
assume
choose
formlessness
that,
for all you people
or
out there who are 18
opt
years
out.
old who are about to enter the work world, or 21. Just be
already
formless.
covered on
No.
some of the plan.
Master something, and then when you've mastered multiple things, you
The
can
money-
adapt.
Miyamoto Musashi was fighting for 20 years as a swordsman in life and death battles, and he eventually developed this power of his, right? But if he were formless without ever having any experience, he would have been killed in his first sword fight. So, you have to have discipline. You have to assume, like, this is what I'm doing, and like, this is my career path, as you talk about, as you mentioned in mastery. And you have to put in the hours, the 10,000, the 20,000 hours. And then when you get to the level of a master, like a Bobby Fischer in chess, then you can do anything you want. You're on another level. You can be as formless as possible, right? So, you're right. I'm not advocating that for just anybody out there. But for me, in my situation, after I've had, the success, and it's also for people who've suffered a major blow like that, like an illness or something, where your habits of thinking can get very set and very rigid, where every day you wake up and go, wow, why do I have to be like this? Why couldn't it happen this differently? And as opposed to being open to what life brings me every single day and not developing a kind of a defensive, rigid attitude.
One of the things that I love about your journey and story is that you mastered so many different types of writing over 20, 30 years. I think you were like first in a newspaper, and then a magazine, and then screenwriting, and then certain types of books, and then weird, you did all these different styles of writing that you tried a lot of things, mastered them to a certain point, which gave you the range to kind of write in the way you do now. It gave you the ability to write the way you do now, which I think is interesting. So I like that you say that when you're in your 20s, like find something to hang on to master for a few years, then you can go to the next thing, and that'll give you more range.
Well, I don't know if I can remember my metaphor, but it's like you want a path in life when you're 20, 21, 22, but you don't want it to be so rigid because you're going to burn out, you're going to get bored, and you're going to give up. You want that path to be like that instead of like this. So you can go this way, you can go this way, you can go this way, you can go this way. But if your path is like that, you'll never find anything because you'll try everything. So I knew I was to be a writer, and I tried 8 different forms of writing. You want to be a musician, you try writing music, you try learning an instrument, you try performing, producing, you go into entertainment, a lawyer, as a music lawyer, whatever. You try different things, but this is what I love in life. You have no idea what you're going to love. And I deal with that because I help consult with people who come to me with that very issue. Robert, I don't know what my life's task is. I never had any education when I was a kid. That's the worst situation to be in. There are ways to solve that, but that's really painful because you have no idea where to go. But you want to have a sense, but you want to be fluid and open, so that eventually what happens is you hit upon the right thing, right?
Most of us are never going to hit the right thing in 25.
No, I was 36, 37, your age.
Wow.
When it happened.
So maybe I'll start to feel like I'm hitting the right thing soon.
Yeah, you found it out a little early. You found it out like 8 years ago.
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's always evolving and growing, and you got to be fluid with it. So it's funny because I've been consistent with the main thing, which I started the podcast almost 8 years ago, and I said I'm going to do it once a week for a year and see how it goes. See if I like it, learn, but I got to be consistent enough for a year. Then I did twice a week for the second year. Now we've done 3 a week for the last 5, 6 years, I guess now. And I've been consistent in one thing, trying to improve. You see me from the first episode to now in the different stages, the leveling out the production, the set, everything, the audio quality, video, all these different things, my skills. But also I wrote a book. I'd never done that before. We did live events. It's like I'm trying new things as well that I'm not that good at the start, but we start to master them over time.
Right.
To create more range and diversity. So, but I'm still sticking to the main thing is the main thing.
Right.
And evolving as I go. So
yeah, that's the perfect way to do it, because you need challenges in life.
You do.
So I always look at it this way: if you're here, this is your skill level. A challenge like here is going to really improve you. If the challenge is here, it's too much, you'll fail, and it'll have bad consequences. If you're here and you're below your level, you're going to get bored. So the optimum thing is to always choose your next project that's a little bit above you, so you can learn and feel excited and challenged and have that adrenaline rush from trying to meet the challenge and get there, and all your energy is involved. So that's the proper way to do things in life for me.
So what about the laws of human nature? What was one that you were like, oh, this is my law. This is the one that I love the most right now, for whatever reason, pre-stroke, to the one now that you think about more as important for your life?
Well, my favorite chapter was kind of about the dark side of human nature, the shadow. Confront your dark side and make it work for you, as opposed to repressing it, right? So everybody has a dark side. I don't care if you're Mahatma Gandhi or whomever, you have a dark side, right? And it comes out in ways that you're not even aware of. And I explain in the book where our dark side originates from. As a child, we had a lot of powerful emotions that we couldn't control. We would hit our sister. We would play terrible practical jokes. I'm not talking personal.
Yeah.
Terrible,
I did the same thing, yeah.
Terrible practical jokes. We'd be kind of mean and aggressive, but also we'd be very loving, which is true as well. We'd be a full range of things. And then you learn as you get older, Robert, you can't hit people in school. Stop that. Don't be like that. Don't play those practical jokes. It's bad. People don't like it. And you get older and older, and you start repressing those kind of feelings that are very natural to you, right? Because we all have aggressive impulses. We love our parents, but there's also a side of us that doesn't like them. We resent them. It's natural. But we have to repress all that, because we have to be good social animals. We have to be good little kids. We have to be little angels at school. We have to be angels at work. All this pressure, like, I've got to repress all that. I've got to be this perfect person. I have to be someone who pleases, who's very nice, blah, blah, blah. And then when you're 28, you start becoming addicted to alcohol and you don't know why. You start getting really angry. You have anger issues. You yell at people. You don't know why. You're like a 45-year-old person with a very steady profession. You leave your wife and you run off with a 19-year-old, destroying everything that you built. The dark side has come out because you've repressed it instead of dealing with it. So the idea was, you need to understand your dark side, confront it, and make it work for you. And I have a dark side. I have, every chapter in the book, sometimes now I think that my answer wasn't the right answer, but I'll go with it anyway.
It's all good.
In writing the book, I kept having to say, I wrote a chapter on narcissism. Robert, you're a narcissist, I read a chapter on the dark side. I go, Robert, you have a dark side. The same thing with the chapter on aggression. And like, what is my dark side? And, I had to analyze it and deal with it and think about it, and think about how any success I've had in life is because I managed to use those dark emotions in my work and channeled them, because they have tremendous energy to them. They power you forward. So I had anger coming out of working in Hollywood. I kind of hated the environment. I hated people's hypocrisy. I hated all the sycophancy and all that. I was really angry, but I didn't let the anger turn inward. I channeled it into the 48 laws of power. So I used my dark side. And I really liked that law, because it showed me that I'm a victim of this, but I also unconsciously learned how to use what I'm writing about. So I kind of drew on my own experience.
What about when you're in a relationship and you want the relationship to work long term? You want to have, whether you're getting married and you want to last. You don't want to just hang on to the marriage and be miserable, but you want it to be a happy, thriving existence, healthy, conscious, loving, to the best of your ability. Should we continue to seduce our partners in committed long-term relationships, or is that not something you do once you're in a relationship?
Well, I have a chapter in The Art of Seduction that deals with, I think it's the last chapter. And basically, I think a lot of people complain. It used to be women complained about it, but I think it transcends that, where we've been in a relationship for a year, and all the things that I'm going and hearing the woman talk, because I've heard this before, everything that he used to do, he doesn't do anymore.
Right.
He doesn't take me special places. He doesn't make that extra effort. He doesn't buy me special gifts anymore. All the things that he did when he wanted to have sex, he was like going crazy and doing all these things. He was dressing really well. Now he kind of dresses like a slob. He kind of doesn't want to go out anymore. I hear that more than I hear the opposite. Like, he keeps trying to seduce me and I'm getting tired of it. I don't hear that too much.
Right.
But I hear that he's taking me for granted, right? So it's not like you're practicing the same things that you did when you were trying to get that other person to fall in love with you. That would be exhausting, right? And I don't think it would really work. But it's that you still do some of the effort, right? You still try to surprise the other person. You still have sides of your character that they don't know about. You do things that they've never seen before. You still take them to places. You still put effort into buying gifts, right? You buy that special gift. You still take effort to take them one night to a special restaurant or to a movie, something that they hadn't.
Okay.
You know, like if you
Then, yeah.
understand, if you
Now,
listen
this
deeply
has
to
been all
that
the
other
rules.
person,
This
and they
first-
reveal their secret desires and what they're not getting from the world, just take that in and go, if I give her a gift or take her to a place that fills that very thing that she said she's not getting, man, that'll have such a powerful effect on that person. Even if you've been in a relationship for 2 or 3 years. And I've been in a relationship for decades, I'm afraid to have to admit. And you still have to go through that process.
Really?
Yeah.
What is the questions you can ask to find out someone's secret desires without saying, what are your secret desires?
You just have to listen. Okay, so the main thing is get them to talk about their childhood.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not obviously. Don't go, tell me about your father. Was he nice to you? You know, just
What question can you ask in an organic, relaxed way that would open that up to you?
Well, in the course of a context, you can say, you know, I don't know. It's like, are you close to your parents? Do you see them? And then just without being, you know, too inquisitive, without making it clear that that's what you're doing, just get them to talk about their early life.
Why is that important to figuring out people's secret desires as adults, asking about their childhood?
Because it's the key to everything.
Really?
In the laws of human nature, I have a chapter about I call it about gender, about the mix of the masculine and feminineness. And there's a concept from the great psychologist Jung called the anima and animus. And he basically says that from a man, from his mother, if you're straight, because these things change, the man from his mother internalizes an image of women that it will haunt him for his entire life.
Wow.
Right? Because the relationship between a mother and son is very intense. It's not the same as between a mother and a daughter, right? Because she's the opposite gender. You're suckling on her breast. She's the only person you know for the first couple of years. It's very powerful. And unconsciously, her image slips inside of you. You internalize a part of it. And you're going to have this, you're going to carry with this. Even if you don't like your mother and you come to not like her later on, that image is still inside of you and you're still going to choose women that have some of those qualities that you would like, you wish your mother had or that she did have. So those early relationships, the woman with her father will tell you so much about her and about her weaknesses and her vulnerabilities.
Really?
And what she's missing. Yeah.
So what if if the person...
That's
go
one,
ahead. Okay.
you know, anything where the person gets excited, right?
Then just take note of that.
Yeah.
And start
If you touch upon a subject and you see that they get nervous or they laugh a lot, they're very excited, just put that in your little index there and go and return to it. Know you've hit upon a chord, a subject that either excites them or gives them like fear or whatever. there's something very powerful going on there, right?
Right.
So, and childhood is a very powerful one like that.
So, what should people be aware of when they're getting into a relationship? What do you think are a few questions they should ask and get answers to see if it's a potential for a good relationship, or it's going to be completely off, or they're just wasting their time trying to get into this? Are there any questions you can think of?
Well, no, I can't think of questions. It's more like...
Or should it be asking, how is your parents' relationship and this and that?
It's not that direct. It's not that verbal. It's not that intellectual. It's more of a kind of a spirit meshing between two people, right? So there are plenty of examples of couples that have done extremely well, where they kind of disagree on political issues, although that can be a problem as well. But there's a little bit of tension on that, but they connect on some deeper level. I refer people to that chapter I was just talking about in the Laws of Human Nature, where there's a level where we connect to people that is not on the surface, that is kind of nonverbal. It has to do with our unconscious. It has to do with things that we've never been able to get from our parents or whatever. And we've kind of have these ideals that have been unmet. And connecting on that level, connecting on the level of spirit, where your emotions, it's more like your emotions mesh together well than your ideas. Like there's,
Yes.
And because if that other person is incredibly dramatic and out there, and that's not something you can, even though they have the similar ideas to you, it's going to grate on your nerves.
I saw a post recently, excuse me, about something like, I'm going to mess this up, but something like you don't marry the person, you marry the person's like trauma, you marry their, in-laws trauma, you marry like what they haven't healed yet, you marry their emotional, the relationship to certain things. You're marrying the emotions of the person, really.
Yes, exactly.
And being aware, like, just because they look great and just because you have fun together certain times, you're really marrying all the other stuff along with it.
Right, and you won't find that out right away.
Because they're good at hiding it.
Yeah.
Right? They're good at like reserving that until 6 months, a year, 2 years later, right?
Yeah.
So it's making sure that your emotions mesh well over your ideals. Is that what I'm hearing?
Over the intellectual part, over just the superficial fact that you both vote Democratic or Republican, or that you both like this movie director. I mean, certain tastes that mesh are important, but I don't think there has to be kind of a charge between you, a kind of something that goes on underneath the surface that has nothing to do with just words or kind of superficial things, something deep.
Spiritual.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people will think, oh, we have all these things in common, we have this connection, this is a great match, but then they don't experience the emotional or spiritual level.
Right.
And then that comes out later and you're like, well, we are from the same city and we went to the same school and we voted whatever.
Yeah.
And we have similar friends and we like to go to baseball games.
Yeah.
But if there's not that spiritual or emotional meshing.
Well, you hit your idea is very apt. You are marrying the other person's emotions, right? And so that's not something that you see right away. And you could love the same movies, you can have all these other things. But if that part isn't connecting on the right way, if they're revealing something that's going to really drive you crazy after several months or years, doesn't matter about how well your ideas are similar.
What if your ideas are amazing together, the sexual connection is incredible, but the emotional level is not in sync? Like,
well, it's hard to generalize.
Yes.
Have a relationship. It'll probably last just a few weeks or a couple months. It'll be hard to build a relationship where you don't connect on this kind of deeper level. But that's not to say that it doesn't happen. And it isn't to say that people can't change, right? So, you might discover after 5 years that this person has qualities that kind of get on your nerves a little bit. You wish you had seen them earlier. But by then you've fallen in love with them.
Right.
And you go, I can appreciate their weaknesses. I can love their weaknesses. I can get over it. It still kind of irritates me. It still irritates me, but there's something deeper. I actually really love this person, and even their flaws are lovable, and that happens, right?
Mm.
So it's hard to generalize about everything, and you can't change. You can like see that maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm too cold and rational, and they're too dramatic, and maybe I can learn from her or him and
Mhm.
become more like them. People change, and that's the great thing about a great relationship, is the ability for the other person to change you as well.
To
Right?
influence you, yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been in your relationship now?
It's over 20 years.
Over 20 years. What do you wish you knew about, being in a long-term relationship like this 20 years ago? Is there anything you would have done differently on your end, or anything that you would wish you would have known to, I don't know, it seems like it's been a happy, healthy relationship to last that long. But is there anything you wish you would have knew earlier, Robert, at that point before getting into the relationship?
You mean, and not have the relationship, or what?
No, I'm being in the relationship, like things that you could have, I don't know, it's the things you could have eliminated or things that you could have done differently yourself to make it even greater, or wish you would have like solved things before challenges came up for you, if they did come up.
Well,
or have you just been like the king of relationships?
No, not at all. As I made very clear, I have got my own problems, my own flaws, No, I mean, being more forgiving would have probably helped, I can be kind of rigid and kind of stubborn, thinking I know the right way all the time.
Mhm.
And I felt like, she had certain flaws that were really too strong. And if I could just go with them and say that I have flaws as well, and be a little more humble and being more forgiving of her, I think that would have helped.
Yeah.
And that's not easy all the time.
Mhm. How important is it, do you think, being in a healing process before entering a new relationship, as opposed to just jumping into a relationship without the process of reflection, self-awareness, looking at what pain has caused you in your past that you haven't forgiven or healed?
It's very, very important.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes your choices with a partner occur for reasons that you're not aware of.
Really?
And I talked about an example in The Laws of Human Nature that's sort of a classic case in therapy, where this man had come to a therapist, and he had a series of like 10 very powerful emotional relationships, and each time he broke it off. And he would say, she betrayed me here. I found out that this was happening, and I no longer loved her, on and on and on.
Mm.
The therapist started to go into his early childhood, and he discovered that he had a mother, this man, who was very cold, wasn't very loving to him. And he had a sense, and this is what happens to children, it happens to boys, when the mother is like that, you feel abandoned. You don't feel like it's your fault. I'm sorry, you don't feel like it's their fault. You feel like something's wrong with you, and they have chosen to abandon you. And it scars you. It scars that 3-year-old in a way that he'll never get over. And so what his pattern was, each time he got in a relationship,
No, it doesn't make sense.
before the woman could begin to maybe
Right.
hurt him and abandon him, he was
That
the
is
one
false.
doing the abandoning. It
I'll
gave
be
him
right
a
back.
sense of power and control.
Mhm.
It was like he was redoing the mother relationship, where he was the one abandoning and not being abandoned. He was not aware of this at all. He'd gone through 35 years of his life and all of these relationships, probably choosing women that kind of mirrored that early relationship as well, but that he could then have abandoned them so he could have this feeling of power. Now, you might not be having something so dramatic going on in your life, but you will have patterns like that. And I know I've had patterns like that, and I've
Mhm.
analyzed them, and I've become aware of them. And so if you've been in a very bruising, kind of damaging relationship, which we've all had if you've been alive for enough years, right? It is absolutely essential that you step back and analyze it, because kind of negative relationships and traumas like that will reveal a lot of truths about yourself. You will tend to blame the other person for everything, but you need to look at yourself and see the patterns that are making you fall for people like that, right?
You getting into those relationships over and over again.
Yeah.
So what would it look like when you start the healing process or the awareness process of, okay, I'm the one who's responsible for this pattern. I'm the common denominator of all these relationships. So there's, partially me to be responsible for. What would it feel like to start the healing process? And what would that next relationship look like when you make a commitment? Would it just feel different? Would it feel like, oh, this is very healthy? How would that look, do you think?
Well, there's a lot of problems. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And the main problem, Lewis, is, believe it or not, some of those early dysfunctional relationships with your parents are charged with this kind of sexual energy.
Really?
Yeah. And so you'll find yourself attracted to the very man or woman who's going to hurt you. Whereas the man or woman who is good for you, there's no kind of sexual charge, because, and this isn't everybody, this is maybe a third, I don't know what the percentage is, don't quote me on that.
Sure.
But you are actually more attracted to the person that has these damaged qualities.
Why is that?
Because you get to relive some of those early traumas, right? And so the problem that will happen, and I can see this in my own life as well, that the person who is good for you, is actually caring, that will mesh with you, that physical charge maybe isn't as strong, right? And that's a problem, right? Because you want to have that element. But you need to be aware of this. You need to be aware of the fact that some of the people that you're most attracted to, you're not attracted to just because of their sexy body or whatever it is. There's also some kind of issues you haven't worked out from your early childhood that are at play in that relationship and that are going to cause you a lot of pain.
Why does that turn us on sexually, do you think? Why is the human brain turned on by drama and, unhealthy relationships? Like, why does that?
Well, I would be a multi-billionaire by now if I could answer those questions.
Yes.
I'd be the ultimate doctor of love. But I can say this, that when you're a child, you're 2 or 3 years old, we're talking about entering the spirit. Try and enter the spirit of the 3-year-old Lewis Howes. You're very vulnerable. You're very weak, right? You're at the mercy of this person who's very powerful, your mother and also your father. It depends on what, you're at their mercy, right? And you're open to them. You depend on them for so much. So the emotional energy that you are putting onto them is extremely powerful, more powerful than any other relationship you'll have in your life, and you're not aware of it. And so it meshes with all these other kind of physical impulses and desires that you have, because a child who's 2 or 3 years old is actually still having like sexual impulses very early on. It's kind of creating a pattern of attraction that you are very
Not talking to
rarely
myself
aware of.
here. Well,
it's not to say everybody is like that, but it's a pretty common denominator that, if you have, for instance, a very narcissistic mother, right, who was more interested in herself than in you, you're going to be attracted to narcissistic women.
If you're a man. Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. Wow.
Yeah. And you're not aware of it. And, it creates a lot of pain for you, right? So you've got to go through a process. It's kind of like there's the ancient Greek play of Oedipus, right? I don't know if you were. He killed his father, and then he ended up marrying his mother.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we get the Oedipus complex from, right? And he never realizes it until he's like in his late 30s, and he's gone through his whole career as the king of Thebes. And then suddenly he's made aware of it through various things that happen, right? And it's like, oh my God, really? I've done all that? This is what my life is? And he's so overwhelmed that he cuts his eyes out and he blinds himself as proof of, how blind he was in life.
Wow.
And so the Greeks are saying in that play that we're all kind of blind. Fate kind of pushes us around and we're not even aware of it. And the moment of feeling enlightened about becoming aware of some of these patterns in your childhood is actually a great moment. It's very painful, but it's very powerful, you know. Sorry, I didn't mean to take it. I didn't mean to take it to such a dark place.
I love this. Let's say someone has been through a tough breakup, and maybe this is their first breakup they've gone through that was tough, a tough relationship, or this is a pattern. This is their third or fifth relationship in 10 years that's been like, you know, what's wrong with me? What would you say would be the next 3 things they should focus on after the breakup, on how to find that awareness and open their eyes, on how to start, you know, observing men or women in a different way before they get so committed and go all in and start fantasizing about how amazing they are? What would you say are 3 things they could do before entering another relationship?
Well, first of all, to become acquainted with yourself and to know who you are and know the source of your own desires. So if it's your very first relationship, it's a little hard to see patterns, but you can begin to see patterns of the kind of person that you're attracted to after the 3rd or 4th time, and to analyze that and to be aware of it. Now, if you know, some people will say, well, won't that kind of ruin the whole relationship game that I'm analyze myself? That seems so unseductive, etc. And you know, if you're in your 20s and you're healthy and you're young, maybe it doesn't matter so much.
Right.
You know, you're going to have some painful moments, but you're having a lot of fun. Okay, I'm not gonna you know, rain on that parade. But eventually, you're not going to be so young. You're going to be in your late 20s. You're going to be in your early 30s, and the series of bad relationships are going to start wearing on you. You're going to start creating trauma, and they'll start infecting you with this kind of defensiveness, where every time you meet someone, you're worried that they're going to hurt you, and you can't, like, you know, open yourself up to them, right? So you've got to, as early as possible, understand your own patterns. Why am I attracted to this person? Just simply ask that question, right? It's, you know, like, what was it about him or her that attracted me to that person? You know, is there something I'm not thinking about? Could I have foreseen some of the darker side of this person earlier on?
Yes,
most
yes.
obviously. Could I have seen the fact that he could be someone who could be kind of cold and abusive? Yes. You know, oftentimes a man who is like that will love bomb the woman. He'll overwhelm them with emotion so they get confused and they're not aware of it. That also is a sign when a man overwhelms you in the first 2 days with so much attention that he's hiding something dark. But don't look at it as if it's always the other person. See your own temptation, why you give into someone like that, why you are attracted to people like that, right? Go through that process and then say, all right, what are the qualities that I really, really want? What is important for me that I'm not getting from this person? You know, the sex is great, but there are other things that are more important, like validation, like the other person cares about my work and about my career. They're not just interested in me as a physical presence, but they actually show interest in my future, right?
Yes.
What are these things that I need that are very important to me that I didn't get in that last relationship, right? Who
Yes.
am I, right? That's just the question. Who am I? What are my deepest needs? And what are my dark patterns, right?
Yes.
And then to go through a process of, we talked about this earlier, if I now become all defensive and closed, and if I'm like always judging the person, you know, oh, he's not right for me, or she's not, you know, because you're afraid of being hurt again.
That last person has power over you still.
Yeah, they defeated you. They conquered your spirit.
Wow.
So you can't be afraid to have some more of that pain again, right? You have to open yourself up a little bit here.
Yeah.
And if you do that, and you're hurting,
It's the sprayer, the air sprayer. It's both.
Say that person who hurt me earlier on has no more
Yeah.
power over me.
Yeah, it's
You know,
well,
I'm
that's
still
what's at the
able
end
to
of their
fall in
own.
love. I'm still able to let myself open myself up to another person.
Yes.
It's incredibly important to be able to feel vulnerable to another person. It's a deep human need. It goes back to our childhood. It's part of our human nature. And if you close yourself off, it's not only going to affect your romantic relationships, it's going to affect you in work and everything.
Yeah, so don't jump into another relationship if you're closed off, is what I'm hearing you say. Like, be willing to heal that part or process it.
And then one last thing.
Yes.
You asked for 3. Those were 2.
Yes.
I'll give you a third. The third is learn to judge people by their character.
So true.
All right? So not the superficial charm and smiles and all the great stuff that they're able to fake, but who they are deep inside, right? You know, do they have some of these strong character traits? Can they take criticism? Man, you have no idea that is such an important quality in a relationship.
Taking criticism?
Yeah. If that other person cannot take any kind of criticism, how can you be in a relationship with them? And they find ways to make you pay for criticizing them. They get passive aggressive, they get cold. Oh, I'm never going to do that again. You can't be in a relationship.
Right.
So judge someone like that. Can they take criticism? Can they deal with moments of stress? Can they get outside of themselves and think about me? You know, think about how they are in a conversation. Do they hear what you're saying? Do they come back with things that reveal the fact that they've been listening to you, that they picked up signals from you? Get inside them, get inside their character, and be able to judge them on that basis as opposed to their sexy veneer that they have. So those would be the 3 things. It all starts with something very simple, which is the power over yourself. If you have no power over yourself, then you're at the whim of everything else in this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean to have power over yourself? Well, and this is a lot of what I talk about in the daily laws. It begins with something very simple, which is you have to know who you are, right? So you're walking around in this world. You don't know really who you are. You don't know what your needs are, what you really desire in your life, because you're a product of social media. You're a product of what other people are telling you you should like, what your parents tell you, what your friends tell you. You don't know who you are, what drives you, what really motivates you deep down. And so you're kind of wandering in life. And when you're unmoored from yourself, everything else will affect you in a way that you cannot control, right?
When you're what from yourself?
Unmoored.
What's that mean?
When you don't have an anchor. Like a
Okay.
moor is like an anchor.
Okay.
So
You gotta speak in simple terms to me.
Oh,
over here.
sorry. Maybe it's my pronunciation.
No, it's good. No. I don't know what the word is. That's what I was saying. Unmoored. Gotcha.
Okay. So it's like a boating term.
Yeah.
So you know, if you don't know like what you were intended to do in life, like what your career was that meshes with you well, right? You're going to be making all of these wrong decisions, and people will do things to you that you won't be able to understand why you're reacting the way you're reacting.
Yes.
You'll get lost. You'll end up in blind alleys with your career, and you'll go, man, I'm so helpless. I have no power. I have no control. The world is against me. It's 2021. It's the pandemic. No, it's you. It starts inside of you. The real problem is in you, not in the world, right? You don't know who you are. And it's not easy. I have sympathy for people because we're so distracted. We're so much in our phones. We're so much listening to what other people are telling us is cool on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, etc. We're like creatures of media. We've been programmed. We don't know really what drives us anymore. We're so tuned to what other people are telling us is what we should be interested in, right? So it's not easy. It takes some time. It takes some reflection, right? That means that you have to have the ability to step back, be alone with your thoughts, and as this book is talking about, meditate and reflect on your childhood, on who you are, on the mistakes you've made, on the wrong career paths you've taken, on the wrong relationships you've taken, and begin to construct an image of that real secret inner, the true Lewis Howes that lies buried deep within all the bullshit that people have added onto it. If you can't control yourself, if you don't know yourself, you can't control your own emotions. You're going to be reacting to everything that comes your way without having understanding why you're doing that. So when you know yourself, you know, I don't need to get angry about this because it's not something that touches me personally. It doesn't matter in the end. Whereas if you don't know who you are, everything affects you personally, and you're getting grumpy and insecure and bitter and resentful. You have to start with yourself. It's the, you know, it goes back to the ancient Greeks and the Oracle of Delphi. Know thyself.
Right. What is the source of our inner power that we maybe aren't even aware of?
Very simple. What makes you an individual? What makes you different? Your uniqueness. That's what the first month in the Daily Laws is about, the month of January. So if you look at people who are successful, you know, you look at a Lewis Howes, or you look at a Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or whomever, you say to yourself, there's nobody else like them on the planet. You may hate Elon Musk. You may think he's an egocentric maniac, but you can't tell me there's another person with those with that kind of guts,
right?
With that kind of confidence and with that kind of vision, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because he's one of a kind, right? And you're going around trying to imitate other people, trying to do what you think other people are doing. You're running away from your source of power.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
What makes you unique, what makes you even weird, what you may even be afraid of because it's so different from other people, is your source of power. It's what makes you a Superman. Or
Usually I have bottled water down
Yes.
here. I'm gonna have to grab another case.
So I don't want to talk about myself too much.
Especially for like the jobs where I have to do a drug screen or something like that beforehand too. It's nice
you know,
to have
I
those
write
around.
books that nobody else
so dry
has
down
the
here,
same
too.
kind of structure.
In this room, that
or
room,
same
on the other hand,
kind of
is too
approach.
moist. It smells like
That
milk.
is my source of
So when they
power.
open that door,
And very early on, it was threatened.
Not so bad anymore.
I wrote the 48 Laws of Power. We finished it in 1998. The publisher had already purchased it, but they came back and they go, Robert, this book's a little weird.
Yes.
You know, the structure, the things on the side. We want you to change it. We want you to make it more like other books out there.
Wow.
And me and my partner, the guy who packaged it,
You got the one that
he
everybody
backed me up and we
misses.
said, no, we'll walk away from the deal.
That
We'll
I
find
even missed the
someone
first time I
else.
took it.
Because we knew that being different was the key to making this book a success. It could very easily fail. It could have bombed.
It's been
but it would
ages
have
since I've had
failed
somebody
in the
do
right
that.
way, which is being yourself, doing something different,
Congratulations.
standing out and not being
when you-
afraid of what makes you unique.
Well, you understand
And
the
how old were
uniform.
you
It's just a
then
plain white
when you launched
T-shirt,
that book?
jeans, or even like Dickie type of pants. It's fine. And then you do have to have steel toe shoes.
39. Did you have a lot of success
When do you think you'd be
prior
able to
that
get
would have
started?
shown this would have been a success?
Nope.
So
You already
weren't
have
some big
boots?
shot writer that was
Absolutely
getting
not.
awards
Yeah.
and other
Okay.
things.
I was the very opposite.
I mean, I can start you tomorrow,
You were the
but
opposite?
it's up to you.
Well, I mean, very simply, quickly, you know, I
Okay.
graduated
So Monday?
college.
Just set it up for Monday
I
then? Okay.
wandered around
Monday
Europe,
is the
kind of trying
15th.
to write the great American novel. I lived in Paris.
Yeah.
I lived in Spain. I lived in London. Had all kinds of seductions. I had a great life.
So
had
yeah,
fun.
you'll be starting a fresh week.
Then I come back to New York.
We
It's
do
time
pay
to get
every week,
serious.
all
I was
right.
into
But the work week
journalism.
doesn't end until Sunday. Because,
Kind of
you know,
started off
So
successfully.
you start
I
the
worked at
15th,
Esquire.
the work week
And
ends
then
the
I
21st,
didn't
so
really
your
like
first payday would
journalism.
be
It
the
kind of wasn't
26th.
working. And then
And
after
because you
4
start out
years,
on Monday,
this
you'll
isn't right for
get a
me.
full check, the first check.
Go back to Europe. I
So no
wander
partials.
around and try to write another novel. Fail again.
If you have any issues doing that direct
I come
deposit or
back
anything
to
like
LA,
that, just give me a shout.
try and make it in the film
Best way to
business.
communicate with me is
And it doesn't
the
work well.
highlighted
And
number
I'm
on
a
the
failed
back
screenwriter.
of there.
I work for various film directors, but I can't sell a
Texting
single
is the
one of my
best way because if
screenplays.
I'm in the middle of things or
And
if
here
I'm
I
helping
am,
someone, I'm not going to
35,
answer the phone.
36.
You text me, I'm
You know,
constantly
I have a
checking
lot
the
of
text
skill.
messages. So what's
I've
cool
learned
about texting
writing
the office number
for
is that I also get that on
film.
my
I've learned writing for journalism. I've been writing novels.
Anything
I
comes
have
up, just give
skill.
me a
I have
shout. If you have any
discipline. I have
difficulty setting up the
research
direct
ability.
deposit or anything
I
like
have
that,
nothing to
just
show for it.
we can set it up manually
Absolutely
if you have to.
nothing. I was
All
a
right.
nobody.
Well, if anything comes up that
And
you might have
this
forgot to
man who
ask,
I met,
feel
you know,
free
I've
to
told the story
send me a
many
message.
times. I pitched the idea of the 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
He thought
All right.
it was
Well, nice
great,
meeting you.
but,
Thanks for,
you know,
thanks for
there's
being
a
on time
big
and
difference
everything,
between
and
pitching something and
being
making
very
it
good
happen.
at this. That's for sure.
Because I
now,
had been so
because you did
disciplined
do
and I've
so
been
well,
writing all this time,
I'm going to speak to one of our quality
I could
people.
actually, you know, meet his
'Cause once in a while they do
expectations
pull people
and write a
from,
proposal that would get him
you know, even though
excited.
the news starts the
But I had
quality
nothing to
section.
back up my to answer your question. I had nothing to back up my
All right.
confidence.
You know,
that
you
this
know
book would be
those will have
good.
to be out. Okay.
Just
All right.
simply having a
Okay.
sense
Well,
it's
good
a
luck.
book about
Like I said,
power.
anything you have
And
any
I
questions, just
understood
give me a message.
instinctively that
All
power
right. Good luck.
is about kind of going your
Have a
own
good weekend
way.
too.
You know, enter action with boldness. That's going to be one of my chapters. then I'm going to be all weak and timid about my book and how it has
I'm
to be
done.
like other books. And I'm a hypocrite. So I was bold. We were bold,
And
and
I can
it
listen to
turned
this
out well.
all day. I'm sorry,
So you were
guys.
39 when the book came out. I'm
Went
pretty much
really well.
40 years old with nothing to show for your life, except for lots of experience, but not a bunch of success or accomplishments.
No success, no accomplishments. My parents were starting
All
to
right.
live on.
Let's see how far we.
So you turned 40.
Okay, so we're an hour into it. Well, let me see if I can pull up any Robert Gouveia from this morning. Sometimes he does a morning stream. I'm probably going to meet this guy getting off work in a little bit to give him his pay card for this week. Let's see about your watchers. What are you doing today? He did. Sweet. It was live? So, okay. Okay.
America. Good afternoon to those of you in afternoon time zones. It's a beautiful Tuesday. As usual, we're taking a look at the presidential schedule. Now, we didn't have much opportunity yesterday to get into the weekly agenda, so let's do that today,
We will
shall
come
we?
back and finish
We
that.
see here Tuesday, not much going on. Now, this has been curious because the president has been very, very inanimated over the last few days. He has
I sent
a meeting today with Speaker Kevin McCarthy, a lot of debt ceiling stuff.
Sun squared.
Hakeem Jeffries, Schumer, Mitch McConnell, all going over to the White House to hopefully figure out something about this debt crisis. And they always figure it out, you know. It's always a big show. And then they figure it out at the last minute. So press briefing by KJP, and then they're all going over there to the White House. Little activity today. We see, let's take a look at C-SPAN.
No, that's fine. No, I
hour.
really enjoyed
I pulled
listening to that
open
while I
the
was
House
going through
Ways and
this.
Means Committee. They have a hearing this morning.
my channel. I decided
talking
real
about
quick.
securing supply chains. We can dip in on that. We'll have the daily briefing here in about an hour and 50 minutes. Secretary Blinken. We're going to have a DOD briefing. Should be interesting. House is back in session. Yesterday it was very quiet, but we do have some activity. They're back in Congress today. You see, we are in May 2023. Yesterday, the House of Representatives was still back at their district. But now they're back in D.C. D.C. work week. It is the 9th. So we have a little bit of activity from there. Oh, Mother's Day is coming up this weekend, my friends. Sunday. So if you haven't gotten that situated, I think I'm mostly done. But I have to admit that in case my mom's watching. You know how that goes. So we have some activity in Congress today. Let's take a look at what the Senate is doing. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, we've got a hearing on the Sudan. Another one examining proposed budgets with the Appropriations Subcommittee. Wednesday, we also have energy and natural resources. So a bunch of stuff going on tomorrow. Then the Senate's pretty much quiet. Today, they've got armed services examining missile defense activities for future defense programs. So not a lot of spicy stuff. You know, we're always looking for a Judiciary Committee. We're looking for oversight, and we don't really see much activity there. I do have a couple stories that I pulled up, one on Kerry Lake, and then we actually do have some House activities, and we can get into this story. The House, let's do it this way. Jim Jordan sent a letter over to the FBI. No, this one's going over to Alphabet. Jim Jordan from the House of Representatives sends a letter over to Alphabet saying that you disclosed documents our direction and you redacted a huge portion of those materials. And we want to see the full items that we requested. Thousands of pages of materials came over to Congress after a subpoena went out over to the big tech companies. The Hill is telling us that those documents cannot be improperly redacted. So Jim Jordan sent another letter over to them. We'll take a look at that one. On Monday, sent a letter to Alphabet, the parent company of Google and YouTube, urging full compliance with the subpoena requiring the production of unredacted documents pertaining to the company's communications with the executive branch. In the letter, Jordan said the company released insufficient information. They produced only 4,049 pages of material with key details redacted, quote, despite explicit instructions to do so. Now, Alphabet is just one of several tech companies like Amazon, Apple, and Meta. They all got subpoenaed in February for, quote, reported collusion with the federal government to suppress free speech. In response to the subpoena, Microsoft said at the time, well, we've started producing documents. We are engaged with the committee. We're committed to working in good faith. Republicans have, of course, accused the tech companies of suppressing free speech. The Hill has reached out for comment to Alphabet, but not hearing much from them. This is the letter from Congress of the United States House of Representatives Committee on the Judiciary. You see Jim Jordan, chairman from Ohio, is the author of this letter, sent May 8th. This one's going over to Alphabet, and apparently the company, the lawyers that are representing them are Mr. Daniel F. Donovan. And so Jim Jordan sent this letter, you can see, signed by Jim. He writes to Alphabet. He says the Committee on Judiciary is conducting oversight of how and to what extent the executive branch has coerced or colluded with companies and other intermediaries to censor lawful speech. As part of our oversight, back in February, we tried to obtain voluntary compliance of your client Alphabet, Google, YouTube, all of the things. The committee issued a subpoena for relevant documents, the subpoena, with a return date of March 23rd. Alphabet's compliance is insufficient, and we write to note our concerns with Google, Alphabet, YouTube's compliance. Thus far, your company has produced just 4,000 pages of materials in response to our subpoena. Moreover, Google, despite explicit instructions enclosed with the subpoena to produce unredacted documents. Remember, Alphabet is not a national security agency. They're not the FBI. They don't get to go around and say sources and methods like the FBI does all the time. They're a company. Alphabet has frustrated the committee's review of the responsive material by unilaterally redacting key information necessary to understand the context and the content of the material. These redactions do not appear to be based on any applicable privilege because Alphabet hasn't asserted any. And the committee requires this material to be produced without redactions. Furthermore, Google Alphabet has recently been placing documents in a reading room in a form and manner that prevents and frustrates the committee's understanding and use of those documents and fails to comply with the terms of the subpoena. So they created what sounds like to be a little bit of a SCIF, a secure facility in which the congressional aides can go and review the documents. Then when they get in there, they can't take the documents, they can't copy the documents, they don't know where the documents came from, and the documents are highly redacted. We expect, writes Jim, that you will produce all responsive material without redactions, both for documents already produced, so do it again, and for documents to be produced going forward. And that you will produce these documents directly to the committee consistent with the subpoena. In addition, your rolling productions to date have not included the material we have reason to believe may be in the company's possession that is responsive to the subpoena. The following examples reference the type of documents that Google Alphabet may possess and which are a priority for our congressional committee, and we want to see these in the next production. This list, however, is not exhaustive or comprehensive. We want everything. Here are a couple of examples. 1, Alphabet should possess responsive communications with other social media platforms related to content moderation. So was Google messaging Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat and communicating with them to create this cabal of censorship. To date, Google has not produced an appreciable volume of these communications exclusively with other platforms. So you're just giving us your internal stuff. We ask for stuff outside as well. Alphabet should possess responsive documents in the custody of its subsidiaries, meaning Google and YouTube and all of the other subsidiaries. To date, Alphabet has not produced an appreciable volume of the documents in custody of Mandiant, Jigsaw, and other subsidiaries. Alphabet should also possess responsive communications with the Global Disinformation Index, To date, Alphabet has not produced an appreciable volume of any of these conversations with third-party entities. And Global Disinformation Index sounds like another one of those agencies and entities. We read through many of them here, talked about them when they would create their own private algorithms, remember? And then they would monitor Twitter. And then Twitter, they would say, is filled with Russian bots. And say, well, can we see what you're doing to calculate those numbers? And they would say, no, it's proprietary. So they want to know, what was your communication with these entities? Alphabet should possess communications conducted through channels other than email. Okay, we don't just want your emails. We also want other conversations taking place on Slack, Microsoft Teams, Jira, Signal, WhatsApp, Messenger, Telegram, text messages, direct messages, anything including physical memoranda that you wrote out on printer paper. To date, Alphabet has not produced an appreciable volume of non-email communications. So they're like, just give them some emails, just give them some emails. Yeah, go to your spam folder and just print everything in there and send it over to Congress. They can't tell the difference. Alphabet should possess internal communications among Alphabet employees referring or relating to any documents and communications from the executive branch of the United States government. So who were you communicating with to censor us on elections, on COVID, on all sorts of other misinformation problems? Whether this was public or non-public, referring to moderation, deletion, suppression, restriction, reduction of circulation of content, and so on. Such material would include, but is not limited to, internal meeting notes or discussions of government requests, recommendations related to other content moderation included. To date, Alphabet hasn't given us anything. Although the foregoing examples reflect the types of documents that Google and Alphabet should be prioritizing in giving the committee, it is necessary that Alphabet promptly complete its production in full. So we want this stuff in the next batch, but you're not done. We note Alphabet's rolling productions have extended for more than a month past the subpoena return date. And so we, the committee, expect that Alphabet will complete its production in full without redaction no later than Monday, May 22nd at 5 p.m. They referenced the Twitter files, saying the release has shown just how extensively the executive branch has communicated and coordinated with technology companies regarding content moderation. We saw emails coming out of the executive office directly to Twitter people and them saying, sure. We had rolling meetings where they would just had a standing meeting where they would just meet regularly. We saw emails from Elvis Chan, who was encouraging censorship because it was dangerous misinformation. The list goes on and on. Accordingly, for all these reasons, we expect Alphabet's full compliance with the term. If Alphabet fails to comply, the committee may be forced to consider to use one or more enforcement mechanisms. Woo, woo. Remember what happened when Liz Cheney and Crying Adam Kinzinger started their enforcement mechanisms? That was non-compliance with a subpoena. That was a referral over to the Justice Department. Thank you for your client's attention to this matter. Please, lawyer, take this back over to Google and Alphabet and tell them we want our documents. Jim Jordan, sending that over to Google and Alphabet and YouTube. And I'm very curious to see exactly what they uncover. I'd love to see all of these unredacted documents. I'm particularly interested about YouTube's conversations with maybe individuals in the executive office of the presidency. We know what happened with Twitter. Did it happen with Google? Were search results, misinformation protected at the behest of the White House? Were YouTube results or individual channels targeted, just like individual Twitter accounts were targeted? Probably. We'll see if Congress gets their hands on it, and we'll look forward to digging in. Yeah. Gosh. Let's see what you guys say about this. Who's in the house? Hey, John McGarvey's here. We got Christina's in the house. Jeanette is here. What's up, Jeanette? Good to see you jumping in the chat. Jigum is working while lurking. Tricky-ish. Says finally warming up after 7.5 months of cold. Yeah, it's warming up here too. Beautiful in Pennsylvania. It's still, it's still May. We can still walk outside and not melt to death. But it's going to be June soon, and then it's melting season of death here in Arizona. Rosie Posey 321 is here. And look at this real good boy on this face here. Look at this. Rosie Posey right there. What a real handsome fella. Rosie, we're glad that you're here. Thanks for jumping in the chat and saying hello. We got Dark Side Digitals in the house. Just Causes in the house. Mrs. Hay says, "Dope, I'm late. Today is a good day for me. Hope it's a good day for each of you also." That's great news, Sarah. That's really great. I love that. Today is a great day. It's a good day for you. It is a great day indeed. Doris Donaldson's here. Just on the Soulless Ginger's here. Patriot, we are under siege is in the house. What about me's here? It's good to see everybody this lovely morning. And so we had another. What's up, Jane Coleman's here. Jane Coleman's in the house. Jackie Carrion is here. Voice of the People. Toenail Cupcake is here. What's up, Bittersweet? Donna Haas is here. Torchwood Gal. See, our chat is filling up. Nikki LaChapelle. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What's up, Viva Maga? I see you. MJ's in the house. Rosie's here. Yeah, it's warming up here over with John McGarvey. It is definitely getting hot out. 98. Yeah, we're going to break. I think we're going to break that at some point. Are we breaking that this week? I don't know when we're going to hit triple digits. Let's see, today. This week. We break 100 this week, Saturday. Darn it. Yeah, Saturday. Going to be a hundo. A hundo. Getting there pretty soon. They aren't even pretending to play ball anymore. Democrats say play ball or we cancel your bills. What the heck is this over from TikTok? Let's see what this one looks like.
Was there a change to the agenda?
Yes.
Which bills were taken from the agenda?
I don't know. There were some bills that were removed from the agenda.
Do you know who the authors were, Madam Chair?
Not offhand.
I think it was Senator Westrom, Senator Eichhorn, Senator Cran, and Senator Gruenhagen's bills that were pulled. Do you know, can I ask why you pulled their bills from the agenda an hour and a half ago?
We just didn't seem to have time for them after all.
Oh, interesting.
Madam
I've seen that commercial again yesterday. I remember it.
Driving 4 hours from Senator Westrom's district, Senator Eichhorn's district, to testify today on behalf of these bills, and to have them pulled an hour and a half ago after the bonding bill didn't pass today. It seems like a pay to play. If you're not happy with what happens on the floor, that you will just pull the public's testimony from committee here.
I know it's unfortunate. It's not something I like to do. I was pretty unhappy and insulted today on the floor of the Senate when a bill that had been in process for the last 2 years was
I've seen it. I'll
not
show it to you. It's funny as hell.
worthy to be voted on by the Republican caucus.
So you pull their bills, you pull the Republican bills because your bill didn't pass when you knew it wasn't going to pass. So again, Madam Chair, it appears to the public, especially those who are driving 4 hours to get here, that this is definitely the Democrats' way this year. It's just a pay to play. We'll have a fundraiser in the middle of the session and come on out. And if you come, we'll look at your bills. Or if you upset us, we're going to pull your bills.
But Madam Chair, and I'm sorry respectfully, this is really frustrating. This whole pay to play mentality here, what's going on, and to be penalized because we didn't vote, and penalize our districts, our communities, because we couldn't vote for a bill because we've been asking, and our residents have been asking for tax relief. And I want to say this, in 7 years, I've never seen a majority chair call our individual city mayors, our city administrators, and try and impede them against us to vote for this because of that. I've never seen it done. And now, when we don't vote for your bill, you take our projects off an hour and a half before committee when people are traveling from across the state. It's very frustrating. This is not the way Minnesota should be operating.
But is that the only way you understand, is if we play hardball and say, if you want a project in the bonding bill, the reality is, members of the public, you have to vote for the bill. It's like, why in the world should I fund your project if you as a senator don't care enough to vote for a bonding bill. So
All right, so
yes, there are.
that's like what's going on out of Minnesota. Interesting. Yeah, it's going to turn into a blood sport, isn't it? What's up, Viva Maga? Thank you, Freedom, for sharing that one. Yeah, it's just getting rough out there. And I think it's not going to end. It's not her fun, says Toenail. It's not her funds. Jigan, you live up there? Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Minnesota. I've been to Minnesota. Long time ago. St. Paul. Very confusing roads, I remember, when I was there.
You know, they did the Bud Light screwed up, right? But I remember when they used to do commercials where they would have guys dressed up as women trying to go in and get cheap Bud Light for ladies' night and stuff like that.
Okay.
So let's watch it. Here's one.
I remember these. I'm old though.
Bud Light, please.
Tonight's ladies' night, and there's a special on Bud Light.
If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
Oh no, it's Ted from accounting.
So this ad literally predicted the future. You see how the bartender, he suspected they might be faking it, but he doesn't dare call them on it. Did you see that? He's like, it's
Right away, ma'am.
So Newsweek picked up on this. I can't believe I let Newsweek do this story before I did, but they did. Because I remembered these videos. We used to do jokes about it. I remember my friend Rich Brown wrote a joke about he likes to dress up in a dress to go get. The guy says, "Well, you look like a man," and he said, "I'm not much of a man."
I like that to look absurd. They got full mustaches.
They got full beard.
And now that would be.
They have the
what's
pool one
absurd
too,
about
though,
that?
where they actually get into
right.
the
Woman with a
sports,
full
women's
beard. That's
sports.
crazy seeming to you.
You can't make these jokes
I'm
anymore.
not sure the other
Okay, here
one.
we go.
Does he show the other one?
So, analyzing the ad on its website, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, called GLAAD, said that the commercial was more of a play on the comedy at the time.
Yeah.
This Budweiser ad isn't meant to parody transgendered persons or gays. It plays on the Mrs. Doubtfire / Tootsie joke of obvious men dressing as women out of need. It's older than television, read the statement. Well,
read the statement.
You say obvious men dressing as women out of need. A glad
so
saying?
if ever I see an obvious man dressed as a woman, I could laugh at that. That's a joke because I see it all the frickin' time.
Hold on. So that guy with the giant fake tits in Canada, the shop teacher.
You can't joke about that.
Is exactly that. An obvious man dressing as a woman out of, I guess, need to troll, who was faking it, but they had to let it go for how long? At the time, I go, this is a joke. This guy's really
So when
committed.
I see a woman with a cock bulge, that's not supposed to be funny.
No.
That is not, according to GLAAD, it is.
You could just remake.
GLAAD says, look what they said. They said that it's more of a play on the Budweiser. It's not meant to parody them. It's obvious. If you're obvious, well, if you have your crank showing, isn't that obvious that you're a man dressing as a woman out?
Crank.
Well, at the time, it wouldn't be obvious. Like now, it's like somebody will be obvious, and you like have to pretend it's not obvious.
Yes.
But they're right. It's not meant to parody that because no one could conceive of a time where those three guys, you could, hey fellas, you're trying to get free beer. No one could have thought that would be a thing
ever.
In fact, now it's not a thing, and I want to make that clear.
So this goes on. The campaign has been successful. It's so successful that it has run many years and carried variations that included comedian Don Rickles mistakenly picking up on one of the women. One variation was shot but never aired, including a Los Angeles drag queen. Like the 1993 version of the commercial Don Rickles ad, which debuted in 1997, was aired under the theme Ladies' Night, Kool and the Gang, 1979 disco funk classic of the same name, served as the soundtrack. So
Is this the
I don't.
Rickles?
What I don't understand is this. Do we show the Don Rickles one
It's
already?
next, I think.
Okay, so here's that one.
Hey, what's our good buddy Don? He thinks he can meet that girl. And what's the bet? Hey, Brickboy, go touch yourself, boy. Hi, Cupcake. What do you say if I Bud Light it? You appreciate it.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down.
Nicely done. Fun to watch.
Make it a Bud Light.
So I don't get that one. So Don Rickles is shocked that it's a man, but he can't back out of the dance. I don't understand that.
No, it's. I mean,
Because that would be seen as transphobic at the time.
You just change the music up and make that a commercial for now. Make like real touching, serious music.
Yes.
I mean, you could totally change these to be okay now. It's just a matter of having the funny sounding music or not.
Yeah.
So
Wouldn't
here's
be
another
considered
one.
comedy
Now there's
now.
these guys pretend to be
This is the
ladies
one.
at a pool contest.
Oh, because
Remember
it's a
this one.
ladies only pool.
Ladies only pool.
Okay.
You're playing for Bud Light, lady.
These guys are good. Who are you calling guys? Yeah.
Looks like you're in the finals. Ma'am, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
You're the defending ladies pool champion? Yes, I am.
Who wrote these commercials? A prophet? This is amazing.
You know what I like about it is because it's not even at like basketball or something. It's at pool,
Pool.
a sport that women, I'm sure, you don't need a physical.
You don't need a physical
They're
advantage.
just saying men are better.
Men are just better at stuff. It has nothing to do with testosterone,
This
bone
guy-
structure, muscle, but they got to play pool. Women play pool just as
Of
good as
all
men.
the sports that you wouldn't need to segregate
That
by
would be the
sex,
one
that would be
sport.
one.
That would be it. Tennis, even men have an advantage, but not pool. So, but nobody had a problem with any of these commercials. Glad doesn't have a problem with them. So I just so that's that. So that's over. But now here's another one I found. Watch this one.
I got it in the can for the first time last night. I loved it.
I never thought I'd enjoy getting it in the can as much as I do. I was wrong.
I gave it to my boss in the can. Right after this game, I'm getting it in the can.
I've only had it in the can once, but I'm definitely getting it in the can again.
I've been giving it to everyone in the can all week.
I'm gonna get it in the can in about 5 minutes. I've lost track how many times I've had it in the can.
Who told you I like it in the can? I didn't expect to get it in the can at the company party, but one thing led to another, and sure enough, there I was, getting it in the can.
So, hey, after I'm done getting it in the can, I'm gonna get ass fucked. Can you believe that aired?
I know. After the guy, the basketball, the black guy there, that's where I would have like cut of just saying in the can and then start switching it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like I thought it would hurt, but my can opened pretty easily. You know, I didn't like it at first, but now I like it more in the can. Like I would just like switch it up a little bit because we get it.
In recent weeks, Bud Light has been subject to bomb threats. Did you know that? Which resulted in a bomb squad being dispatched to an Anheuser-Busch facility in Los Angeles after authorities said they had uncovered a threatening email. Boy, Budweiser's really taking it in the can. Am I right? Am I right? Come on. Anyway, that's how it used to be. Hey, that's what I'm saying. Like this transgender, there used to be joke. So there used to be a joke when, and I used to do when I was in high school, college. You would just say that I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body. That used to be a joke.
Have you looked into?
But now there are people who are biological males who say they transition to being a female, but
Right.
they're still into females. That was a joke from the 1980s.
Well, here's a great punchline to it. In fact, I fully support. So lots of lesbian dating app. There's one that just banned. If you say, "Hey, I'm a lesbian. I want someone who just like does not have a dick," you're not allowed to say what you don't want on the app. You'll be kicked off.
Really?
Because the woman put a statement. It's the statement said, "We support every kind of lesbians." It was so now it's called Her, I think, but it's on lesbian dating apps. There's now more lesbians with full dick and balls than there are, the lesbians.
No.
Yep, it's been going on for a while. See, look back.
By the way, I support all you. Let your freak flag fly. I don't give a crap.
Oh, I love what's become of feminism. I love it. I think it's the funniest thing.
So trans, they're considered part of feminism?
It's intersectionality. So here's what feminism had. You had like man haters. Not maybe they had good reason. Something happened.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff happens to women. So
I hate a lot of guys.
Hate and fear men. Then you had the bourgeois, like the chicks that went to New York and they're gonna have a gay best friend shaman that, that whole girl, you need to get out, and then you're gonna marry an architect. And then slowly that fantasy, as the women's movement went on to intersectionality, became, oh, I now have a lesbian as my rabbi, right?
I think so.
But here's a problem. Now you're screwing up the plan, because a gay guy can be your friend because he's not trying to bang you because he's gay. But now you're with someone whose interests conflict with yours because they're not after dude. So that didn't work out. And now we've evolved to the perfect for the upper class bourgeois Karen, which is Dylan Mulvaney. My best friend's a woman, but also is a gay guy. So the rich. That's why everybody learned how class is the real thing in this, and not
it is,
and not whatever you thought it was.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll say this about again. I'm super supportive of trans. I always have been. Should not be discriminated against in employment, work, love, and no matter what, and also be treated with dignity and respect. But when I watch Dylan Mulvaney, is that the person's name? I feel like she's doing an impression of what she thinks a girl, not a woman, because she often talks about herself as a girl.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you're a middle-aged biological male. You're not a girl.
Also,
and that's not how the way Dylan Mulvaney acts is not the way women act that I've seen. So I'm not saying she's not a woman. I'm just saying that it appears to me that she's doing an impression of a woman.
Well,
am I allowed to say these things? I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this.
I don't know. I think she's better than a woman.
I think she's better than a woman too.
I don't want her to hold herself down.
She's 100, and as they say, she's 100. She's 105% woman, if you know what I mean.
But the part that is
she's more woman than a regular woman, is what I'm saying.
Dylan Mulvaney, like the thing that's wrong with Dylan Mulvaney, like trans is not even. I wouldn't even have that in the list of the things that are wrong with Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan Mulvaney is the most annoying, like construct, astroturfed corporate construct of a human being. Like you could get a trans person that's not absolutely obnoxious and comes off just like a gay dude pretending to be trans. Not saying that that's what Dylan is, but comes off like corporate nonsense that has nothing to do with anyone. I know quite a few trans people. None of them act like that. Okay. But if you see the interview with the woman that was like, okay, this brand's in decline. It's really fratty and we need to make it appeal to women more. And in her fevered brain, that's what she thought appeals to women.
She thought appeals to
because
women.
She's upper class. She went to a good school, and all of them like, oh, this is the hottest thing. I've just been told this is what we all love. And then she thinks that's the appeal, and it actually appeals to no one.
It's a weird choice to have that person be in charge of Bud Light branding. It's a weird choice. That's the person.
I'd like the boycotts to stop because I don't think it's fair to put Anheuser-Busch in that position of having to choose between their customer base and the greatest woman in history.
Okay. I'm sure I'll get somebody's going to clip and hate me for what I said about that, but I'm willing to take it. I'm willing to take it.
Yeah.
I find Dylan Mulvaney very annoying and doesn't act to me. Let me ask her. There's a woman here. Let me ask the woman. When you see Dylan Mulvaney, do you think that Dylan Mulvaney acts like a woman acts? Because that's not how a woman acts to me.
I agree with you. No, I do not feel that. Dylan Mulvaney acts like the women that I know.
I didn't like Dylan Mulvaney back when Dylan was the guy, Dylan Mulvaney, who was gay. That was also really annoying in one note. It's like crazy to be that hardcore. Like, I'm gay, everything gay. And all of a sudden, like, I'm a woman, I'm a girl. Like, and then go just as hard. There's something like just off. It's nothing to do with gender, with this person's personality, where they're like an attention whore maniac.
I mean, Dylan Mulvaney's like a half turn of the screw away from drag. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm never not aware that Dylan Mulvaney's a biological male. I'm never not aware when I.
Yeah, and I know trans women where I am not like.
There's lots of them.
Yes, we're like, oh, like.
So according to GLAAD, it seems like what GLAAD is saying is that if you can't tell if it's a woman, but if you can tell it's a man or a biological male dressed in a dress, then it's okay to make fun of it.
No, back then it was. Now the
but now
literally
not?
the laws of reality have been rewritten.
The
So this
re-
is back before.
Oh,
the
so
great-
that was back then.
right before the
Oh,
singularity.
so they were okay with. So that's from back then.
Yeah, so they're saying back then they weren't trying to make fun of, but now that we are more enlightened, like I think they should reissue it and put serious music, and then like we support brave women everywhere at the end, you know, and just do
They
dead
could.
serious because literally that's how it is now.
That it literally is how it is now. Literally, and I can't stop saying literally, literally. I literally can't stop saying it. Literally. Hey, you're supposed to get 4 to 6 servings of vegetables and fruit. Of course, nobody does. So a way to make up for it, they have this called, if you like superfood, Field of Greens. This is actually food. It's not a supplement. They take the food, the vegetables and fruits, and they turn them into a powder. And then you take that powder and you put a scoop of it in your water or whatever, or you can with milk or whatever you want to mix it with. I mix it with water. I like how it tastes. It tastes like iced tea and fresh cut grass, but in the best way. And they have others. This is the original. They have other flavors. But anyway, so I don't get my fruits and vegetables. I only really eat twice a day, maybe even less than that. So I take this. I started to anyway, and I'll let you know. I mean, look how good my hair looks and everything already. So anyway, you could get a deal on this. If you like this kind of thing, this is good for you. So it's called, go to fieldofgreens.com and use the promo code Jimmy and you get 15% off your first thing. And then if you want to have a subscription that keeps coming, like I guess every month or something, you could get 10% off that. So use the promo code Jimmy, go to Field of Greens and get your superfood. It's a superfood. It's real. It's organic. It's nothing bad in there. And it's real food. Supposed to be good for you. Look at that. All right. So if you're into that, that's a good way to help support the show. Go to fieldofgreens.com. Use promo code Jimmy. Watch my new comedy special, COVID Lies Are Funny, for only $10. Become a member at jimmydore.com. Hey, and we're going to be on tour in Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York.
It's like, where, how the hell do I get around this town? Yeah. Not good. Okay, so I had another update on some Carrie Lake stuff because she is scheduled for a trial coming up.
Hello.
And let's see what we have here.
Hello.
Carrie Lake going back to trial. Gateway Pundit has an update for us. Will be had May 17th, 18th, and 19th. And this comes after Carrie Lake and her team submitted a request for a status conference. We'll read through the status conference request, and we'll take a look at a couple of clips that came out from the proceeding itself, where there were some
Rachel hasn't had
interesting
this number
drops
for 2 years.
saying there was new evidence about the 2022 midterm elections here in Arizona. And so before we take a look at the hearing itself, I want to share with you what was filed on behalf of Carrie Lake and her team, submitted May 4th, 2023 from Blem Law and Kurt Olson. We remember these individuals from the previous trial, and they submitted this in the same case that went up on appeal all the way to the Supreme Court of Arizona and got remanded back down. So once it landed back down in the original Superior Court, which is where the trial was that we covered here, this is what Carrie Lake submitted. She said, hey, we want a status conference. We're going to have a lot of issues to parse through here, so let's get something scheduled. So she submitted this. She said, Carrie Lake asks this court for a status conference as soon as possible. We need to address further proceedings after the remand from the Arizona Supreme Court. Additionally, because many of our attorneys live far away, we ask that this court hold the status conference by telephone or video conference. The motion is supported by the record. They tell us that there was a series of rulings. Previously, the court dismissed all 10 counts of Carrie Lake's challenge. The Court of Appeals affirmed the dismissal and said, yeah, it should have been dumped. But the Arizona Supreme Court reversed the dismissal of one count, which is a pretty important count. Signature verification to allow further proceedings to have essentially another trial on it. Today, the Supreme Court issued a final order in the appeal, directed its clerk to enter, saying that Lake now submits this request so that we can have a hearing, so we can decide what to do with a bunch of different issues, so we can streamline further proceedings and address issues that are likely going to arise. Some background. We know that Kari Lake brought a 10-count challenge after the election was over. There were several rulings. In an opinion, the Supreme Court found a certain way. In another ruling, the Arizona Supreme Court confirmed the Court of Appeals for everything except that one very important
with her,
count,
once you
count
know,
3,
you see it.
for signature verification. The Supreme Court disagreed with this court's finding that latches barred count 3 because Lake could not have brought this challenge before the election. Kari Lake was originally dismissed because they said, well, you can't complain about the signature process now. You should have complained about it before the election started. And now, since you're complaining about it after the fact, that's an invalid claim. But the Supreme Court said, wait a minute. Petitioner can prove her claim.
Hello, Alex.
Likely aid the parties in setting a procedural calendar for further proceedings. Here, the plaintiff Lake is also contemplating a motion to reconsider the dismissal of the logic and accuracy testing under another rule. She may bring another new and separate action under other rules, federal and Arizona constitutional claims. Either party could consolidate all of these cases, and so Kari Lake is intimating to the court that they are coming in hot. Because of the exigency of resolving election contests before a new term begins, we need expedited hearings on this. And although the election contest statute does not expressly rule out civil discovery, the timing often does not allow discovery. But that exigency is now lacking. So now we seek discovery as part of either remand. Previously, Your Honor, we had very limited time. We had to move quickly because Katie Hobbs was going to be sworn in and take the oath and all the things and become governor. And she's now governor. And so we don't have that same exigency. We don't have that same urgency. to go after these materials. So now we have time to go after these materials. So we want to do that now. Similarly, a new action for constitutional violations would have the benefit of civil discovery. And we want to get to the bottom of this. We need to discuss it at a conference. So to aid the court, we ask that we submit a joint status report at least 5 days. Here is a request to make this telephonic. Some counsel live in DC and Seattle, so we want to do this by phone. Conclusion, judge, please grant us a status conference. And of course the judge did, said, no problem, let's hop on a call and do it. And it was done telephonically. And the judge did sign an order, and we have new dates coming up. But let's check in and see what the hearing held, what it sounded like. CanCon at CanCon Actual posted this on Twitter. Says that here is one clip from Carrie Lake's lawyer, Kurt Olson, saying we've got new evidence in this case.
There were extraordinary findings of misconduct that are directly related to the court's findings in its December 24th, 22 order dismissing that claim. The issues are of such an extensive nature. They show that Maricopa officials conducted secret testing on the tabulators on October 14th, 17th, and 18th. That's after the logic and accuracy test was certified. That those 260 of those 446 tabulators failed that secret testing, and that those tabulators were then used in the election. There were extraordinary.
So the machines were problematic, and they used them anyways. Pretty interesting new evidence, and I don't know exactly where they got that material from, but certainly part of discovery will be the transfer of materials that would illuminate that issue, and we're looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. So we know trial is going to be scheduled back on May 17th, 18th, and 19th. We saw the clip. This is a little bit about what the signature problem might entail. You see here, we have a person's recorded signature as to what it should look like. And then we have another signature that doesn't look anything like this signature. Apparently, these are both from the same voter. And one signature doesn't look anything like the other, but it still counts. They still say, no, it's good. Yeah, that's close enough. So what percentage of a match is that? Is it 0%? Pretty much. Maybe 5%. That S there kind of looks like that, maybe. 88 versus this one looks like full name. So if the mail-in ballots are supposed to be signature verified under law, they're supposed to be a closer match than this, and they're supposed to get about what a certain threshold of accuracy. If it's way below that under the threshold and it's not in compliance with Arizona law, how are those ballots valid? They're not. So this will move forward. They tell us that the election procedures manual, it says counties may in their discretion conduct additional pre-election testing as long as they're included with the participation from representatives of the recognized political parties. If the county conducted further testing without party representatives and public notice, that would be illegal. So we'll be back here, of course, to cover this 3-day trial starting May 17th here in Arizona, which will be next week. That will be coming up soon. And so should be interesting to watch. We'll see what happens in Arizona. Hopefully we get some good news. All right, let's see what you guys say about this. Carrie Lake updates. What's up, Bonnie? Good to see you, Bonnie. We have here Antiplode. What's up, Antiplode? Doris Donaldson's here. They don't look right. They aren't valid. Yeah, it doesn't look right at all. What can be done if they find Carrie Lake was correct about voter signature matches were not done? Well, I don't know what they would do. I mean, gosh. I think you have to do a new election is the remedy, honestly. A special election or something. I don't know what the next remedy is, but I think you got to do it again. I mean, if it's an illegitimate election, they're going to do everything they can to not make this happen. Yeah, I guess Bonnie's right? It depends how many of those. So let's say they examine the ballots and they say, well, these signatures are not even close, and it's supposed to be 60% threshold accuracy. It's closer to like 30%, and you say, okay, well, if those 30%, like what was the margin? Hobbs Lake margin. Lake gained. Let's see here. What are the final numbers? It wasn't much. About 17,000 votes. Okay, so it's about 17,000 votes. Here's this number. You can see here, Katie Hobbs supposedly got 1.287. Carrie Lake got 1.27. So about 17,000 votes. So if let's say we identify 17,001 bad ballots because the signatures wouldn't match, and they're not going to go and relook at every single signature, but they'll probably just pick out a sampling, right? They'll say, okay, we're going to pick out 5,000 ballots from across this thing, and we'll see if we can extrapolate from there. Of those 5,000, 30% of those were bad. Okay, if we take that and extrapolate that across all of the ballots, could we get over 17,000 ballots that are theoretically bad as a result of this structural problem? If so, I think that meets the standard, which is this standard that the judge, the court basically found in Carrie Lake's statement.
It looks
here,
like
which is, I think
they're awarding this E. Jean Carroll $2 million in the civil
here.
case against Trump.
Yeah, so if you could,
and he's going to be appealing that. Dude, that judge was horrible.
Were in sufficient numbers, so there's over
the most
17,000
slanted judge I've ever
to
heard
alter
of
the
in my
outcome
life.
based on competent mathematical basis, to conclude the outcome would have
We'll be talking
plausibly
about it
been
later
different
at 6 p.m.
Then
Eastern.
what? I think you got to do a new election. So you've got 17,000, let's say, of the total ballots. Yeah, I think they can get there, honestly. I really think that they can get there. 17,000 is not a lot. Yeah, I think they can get there, totally. And if we're looking at, I think they can meet that standard, actually. And then what does that do? I'm not exactly sure where it goes from there, what they do about it, but they're going to try everything they can to not have a second election here in Arizona. Yeah. Who else is here this morning? Freedom says, I was in Phoenix once for almost a year in 2020, 2021. Is that good enough for me to be hired? Where are you looking? Where do you want a job? I guess is the question. With Carrie Lake, it's hard to cheat that blatantly twice in a row. Oh, previous post was hiring voters. Oh, I got it. Yeah, hiring voters. That's why they're so worried about Trump. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be on high alert on this one now. How many mail-in ballots? Good question. A lot. That's a good question, Bonnie. Yeah, it invalidates the election, and there needs to be a revote. Couldn't AI figure out the signature thing in short order? Probably. Hiring all voters here. Rosie Posey says, I think so too. They should never be kept one-to-one, as that would show who voted how. That is not legal. Once the envelope and the ballot are separated and spoiled, there is no way to tell. Those ballots and envelopes should have been kept separate in a box. There for total could have been determined. This did not happen. What's up, FMF? Yeah, Bonnie says, just proving the vote was invalid is their point right now. Once spoiled, you can no longer determine who the vote is for. Yeah, right, because you signed the outside of the...
I don't hate Trump. You
don't sign the ballot, you sign the envelope. So they verify the envelope. Okay, this is a legitimate voter, and they take the envelope out, and the ballot gets counted,
We're talking
but they
dirty.
don't connect the two. is my understanding. They are claiming there are 30,000 unverifiable signatures. That would be 3 times the difference, I believe. Yeah, so those numbers were 17,000.
I mean, he'll be able to appeal
well
it.
over that
So.
threshold, right? And if they're
But
unverifiable
if you kept up with
signatures,
with
those are
the
not
case, the
good
transcript
votes,
of the case,
as
the
far as
judge
I'm
intervened.
Now, I guess there would probably be an opportunity to cure those, and maybe they would try to do that. I sincerely doubt they verified every single
But
signature.
back in 2000, wasn't he a Democrat?
Even if they verified the single signature would be enough to overturn. Yeah, we'll see. It might. We'll see. Yeah, Bonnie didn't get a notice today. That is weird. If it's a solid red state with a small over-dominating blue dot called Minneapolis and St. Paul. Yeah, Minnesota was interesting. Minnesota's been interesting, right? You guys had Jesse Ventura there for a little while. And it's kind of been purple-ish, right? It's kind of been a purple state. Yeah.
I mean, not that it matters. There's not much difference between them.
Toenail said you had a message deleted? What? Not for me. Not for me. It's good to see you, Toenail Cupcake. Rob, that is why many ballots don't have envelopes. Red with a small blue dot.
Oh, yeah.
That's how a lot of places are. It's
And
big
he's
cities.
honestly has a cult.
What if a dead person, like Calm and Free, signed the envelope? Does it still count? In Arizona, I think it would. Yeah.
Put a gun to your head. Biden or Trump.
Captain
You have to
Flat-tastic,
pick
Just Cause,
your slave
Jackie
master.
Carry On. Yeah, 0%.
Today, I would take the bullet.
Funny.
But
Okay, my friends. Well, it is a beautiful Tuesday, and we will leave it there this morning, but we'll come back here tonight and we'll do it all again. We'll see what the day has in store for us. I think Trump is going to be very light. I think, the trial will be very light. We'll do, they'll have the charging conference or the jury instructions, delivering the jury instructions. Trump was gagged. Yep, I saw that, Bonnie. We'll have that. I think I saw some other Trump prosecution news.
yeah, this is old.
There was a gag
I mean,
order.
it just
There
came
was
in.
that.
It's
There's some
showing on
Hunter
Twitter.
Biden stuff also cooking out there. But we'll see what else is in store. As always, I appreciate you sharing the stories on Locals. It's good to see everybody. Hopefully you're having an amazing Tuesday, and we'll be back here in a few short hours to do it all again. And so until then, my friends, make it a great day. I'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Let's see. I think this is supposed to be something against this guy, but this fucking says special police. Basically, he's a security guard.
And he hold on to his gun. A special police. Who's supposed to be special?
No, you a bitch. Bitch ass
Walking all up on him. Look how far he's not giving him no space. Like, come on, y'all. Why you gotta be all up on him like that? You ain't get that. Come on, y'all.
What's up, man?
You antagonizing.
Take your badge and put that gun down. You
like,
foul
you
the fuck out.
antagonizing. Like, what's
Take
your
that badge
problem?
and
Are
put
you
that gun
angry?
down. Take that fucking
Like,
mace
he
off.
really would. He will
Take
blow
that shit
his
off,
legs
nigga.
for real. Like, he was sitting there
Yeah,
holding on a
take
gun
that
like
shit
he
off.
was coming up with an attitude for
You
what?
need a gun, bitch. You need a fucking gun.
Hey, get out his face. Nah, watch out, young.
Nah,
Watch
nah,
out.
nah.
Watch out.
Soon as
Nah,
you
because
catch
you
it.
wild as shit.
No.
Like, why you going? Yeah, you're being recorded, too. Is it antagonizing? I'm going to send it to your company, too, Mr. Special Police Officer.
You's a cold blooded bitch.
This was the
You's a
special
bitch.
archangel.
You's a bitch. You's a bitch. You bitch ass nigga. When I get my shit, I give a fuck. Fuck wrong with you. I ain't going over talking my fucking food that I fucking paid for. Fuck wrong with you.
Can I get
Bitch
my
ass nigga.
food? Hello? Can we get our food? 121 and what was the other one?
What's it? Global Special Police. Yeah.
Back up from him. Like, I mean,
Secure turd.
what is your problem?
What?
He's scared as shit. He's scared as shit.
You's a bitch.
He's scared as shit, dog.
You's a bitch.
That bad,
You's a
that
cold-blooded
bad
bitch.
shit.
You's a cold-blooded bitch.
If you make us in this joint, that shit go everywhere, and I'ma sue your ass. Oh God, I'ma sue the shit out your ass.
Yeah, the security guard assaulted him. Got in his face.
Man, back up on him. Back up. If he's spraying for everybody, and I got a real police officer. The fuck you, dumb as shit.
I'ma eat that shit, bitch. I'ma eat that shit, bitch. Fuck you talking about?
You telling him to back up, but you all on him.
Fuck no, I ain't backing up. Get the fuck out of my face.
Stop touching him. Stop touching him.
I wish you fucking would.
The fuck?
I wish you fucking would.
Back up from him. But you all in his face while he's trying to get food. Like, that's so unsanitary. The fuck? Like, that shit is loud as
Put your
shit.
dumb ass in the motherfucker. All that shit right there on the fucking
He ain't going to. He ain't going to. His old ass scared as shit. He's old. He's old.
What's up, Brendan?
I meant to text you back, but I left my phone on
No
the car
worries.
and it overheated.
No worries. No worries. It won't let you activate it until the money hits it, though. So, and I did payroll today, so payday's always Friday. Okay, so don't ever call me on Thursday or Wednesday if it's not there. But usually it does hit Wednesday night, Thursday. All right.
So I gotta activate it once I get the money.
Once the money's on it, yeah, because it won't let you activate it on your end until it knows that there's funds there. That way, people can't just take the cards.
Jump in, bitch.
Right.
If you have any issues, just give me a shout. How's it going?
It's been going good. It's pretty easy.
All right. All right, keep it up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Wait, did it tell you how much my check is already?
I can tell you what the gross is. Does it run through the system yet? So I should have it on. It's 40 hours. Okay, you did it a whole week, huh? So 560 was the gross. Minus whatever taxes they do and stuff.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Don't do that. I'm telling you right now. Don't do that. 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 Don't do that because you being recorded and you dead wrong. Don't do that. Don't pull out your gun, y'all. Don't pull out your gun. Right now, y'all. Don't pull out your gun. You ain't gonna pull your gun back. Don't pull out your gun, y'all. You ain't. Go ahead. What you doing, Slim? Fuck wrong with you? You don't ain't got one. Go, man. You dead wrong. You dead wrong, and you being recorded. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do what you doing. I want you to.
Damn. No, we ain't gonna watch it again. So look, see this fucking cop or security guard gets in his face. He's just waiting for his food. He's trying to trespass him, but he's got an order in that he's already paid for. I love this enthrall. He's hilarious. All right, I'm gonna see if I can get my tire fixed before I go eat. Might as well jump. I'm gonna kill it. Stream's done. Over 3 hours. I got shit I gotta do. If I see something as I'm driving around, I will go live. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. I know the first part of it was kind of long. It was a long interview, but I think we got a lot out of what Anna sent us. I'd like to watch the rest of that. If not on stream by myself. But I'm going to kill it.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. You can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.
Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
Coming out with a statement. You really changed, man, all your music and arrangement. You don't know shit, shut your mouth, you can save it. I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks, didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do it all again, cause I never feel complacent. Let's keep the good vibes, positivity's contagious. I'm never looking back, cause I made a life that's passionate. A college graduate suppressing all his talents, yeah. He found a way to go and change, become an advocate. For taking control of your life, go out and battle. And you think you have a dream, then act on it. Get after it, get out your head and fucking capture it. You got one life to master it. Don't give up on your future, we all start losers. We're all late bloomers, gotta struggle through the sewer.
What you say? Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks